Yep. Let's see how it goes.
Marco.
How we looking, ladies and gents? Looks good on my end. I was having a little bit of technical difficulty a moment ago. What's fucking new? Am I right? You took a full
load.
So true. Can we hear me okay? Is it looking good? Oh wow, it's amazing. Looks absolutely amazing. So good. Absolutely looks splendid. All right, well, we're here. I'm glad to see you guys. Well, I don't see you, but you see me. You see me in the new cult member hoodie. AlwaysMarcoMerch.com. Just in time for Christmas. Just in time for the cold weather. Oh, and what's that right there? Oh, the anti-pyramid mug. I haven't had my hands on this for a few years because I gave it away to somebody. One of the goons that I met in person, I gave them this mug. And then, obviously, this hoodie didn't exist yet. So, you know, we're doing it. We did it, and we're doing it, and I'm excited. There's been a lot of excitement about the new merch drop. We've got this, the mug, which wasn't new. It's new to me, and I have my phone case, which I actually think has arrived at my mailbox, but I haven't gone to pick it up yet. Burger Baron, Ting, wow, Ting thumbs up, Goon Tax paid. You absolutely love to see that, and it's a super chat. Absolutely love it. Yeah, appreciate that. Thank you so much. Paying some bills, am I right? Where's the thing?
I gotta get the bag.
Yes, sir. So we're here. I was, as I said, I was having some technical difficulties for some reason in OBS. When you like configure each of the elements, there's like a settings menu where you can click a little settings menu and it'll pull up everything. But for some reason that button doesn't work. Yay! So I have to literally find like I literally have to like hack the machine by clicking like. Anyways, it doesn't matter. But why is that happening? Nobody absolutely knows. But I hope you guys are good. Thumbs up the ting, of course, if we're here. If you want the new merch before Christmas, mine actually came so fast, so I don't want to fill you with a sense of artificial scarcity or urgency like everybody else on YouTube would when they're selling something. But I will put the link in the chat for a link with a discount code in the message. Right there, Goons. Use code Goons for a discount. And because I was wrestling with these technical difficulties, I had not yet made the Instagram story that we were live yet, nor had I posted in the Discord that we were live. Perfect segue to me mentioning the Discord. If you're not in there, join. It's totally free. Sometimes YouTube people look at YouTube. Sometimes it's not You look at YouTube. Sometimes it's not notifying people. But if you're in the Discord, you will be notified. So don't you want to be notified? Doesn't everybody love to get notified about things like of that nature? Let's see. Love it. Live streams. Let me post it. Command C at everyone. Send it to absolutely everyone. We are live. Shift Command V. There we are. Absolutely great. There we are. Look, somebody just joined the server as we speak. Dr. Steve, congratulations, Dr. Steve. You are in here. You are in here. What else? All right, well, I have some things that I'd like to share with you guys today. Of course, continuing on with the theme of MLM propagandizing. There's been arguably nobody more committed to this than the person whose literal financial future depends on pushing the propaganda, and that is none other than groveling Dave Grimaldi. Where is the thing? Groveling Dave Grimaldi, CEO of the Direct Selling Association. This is the trade association that lobbies on behalf and advocates on behalf of what they call multi-level marketing. I don't call it that. But for all intents and purposes and for knowing what we're talking about, subject reasons, I guess we can call it multi-level marketing. So prior to Dave Grimaldi, and what up in the chat to Julie Anderson? She says, Dave, if you're watching, buy this mug. Prior to Dave Grimaldi, it was a man named Joe Mariano who was the CEO of the DSA for many, many years. And I did a stream about him called Meet Joe Mariano last year, and you can watch that on the channel as well. But Joe Mariano was there for a long time, and then Dave Grimaldi came into it. So we're gonna look at what Dave Grimaldi's whole deal is in a moment. Hold on. I'm in the final throes of posting this Instagram story. Meet Dave. You remember that Eddie Murphy movie, Meet Dave? The CEO of Big Pyramid. Boom. That's what we got there. Absolutely great. And let's post it with the link. There we are. There we are. It's posted. He did it. He did it. He did it. And it took barely any time at all. It gave you just enough. He took just enough time that it would take for you to get your drinks and get your Always Marco merch orders and all of that stuff. Also, Jessica in the chat was one of the first messages asking me, when does my tour start? Referring to my speaking tour that I'm trying to put together with people, with different schools, community leagues, big brothers, big sisters, high schools, universities. I'm trying to put together, if not a full-on tour, I would love to do a full-on tour, but realistically, what is going to happen is that there's going to be one-off engagements that happen first. And so I'm actively working on those, Jessica. So I do appreciate you asking, and I will provide you guys updates, of course. Really would love to post a video of me answering questions and sort of doing a Q&A at a school, for example, talking about MLM and why it is so bad. But we're still working on it. Most of the time, I'm just one guy. Sometimes I have help. Sometimes I have help from graphic design people. Shout out to Devin. But most of the time, when it comes to literally everything, most of the time it's just me. But, that being said, we've been recruiting the Avengers recently. Lawyers, new bookkeeper, new accountant, graphic design. So the costs are, plus this new CRM software that I've been using to build this sort of like, to host this free guide that I'm giving out, which is nearly complete now. I know I keep talking about it, but it's nearly complete. Been working on it. And that's costing money every month. So yeah, definitely alwaysmarcomerch.com. Definitely Streamlabs link in the chat. Definitely need to make $15,000 on this live stream in order for me to sleep easily tonight. Cheers to that. But hey, this is the game, isn't it? What up, all the mods and all the members in the chat? Sam here, Lindsay Lou, love to see it. Brandon C, you love to see these people, these names. You look at these names. Beetlejuice. Oh, Beetlejuice with a 10-hour drive. Lock in, Beetlejuice. Lock in. Plain Decoded is here. Julie Anderson. Uriel. What up? What up? What up? Joe Mariano resigned after Marco's video. It was kind of suspiciously close to when I dropped my video, wasn't it? 45 people watching, only 29 likes. Make it make sense, am I right? Okay, we're here. Everything looks to be in order. Yes, the story was posted without issue, without incident. Good. Good. Do any amongst you actually know what factors into to Instagram's like deciding of who sees your story or not? Because I swear to God, dude, some days I have like thousands of people view my story, and then some days like less than 1,000 people will view my story. So what are the actual factors that are involved in that? I have no clue whatsoever. DTI, what up? So let's check this out first and foremost. This was something that I came across that I thought perfectly explained what I have tried to explain many times, and I'm actually going to show you 2 videos relating to this. I'm going to show you one, which is the concept. I'm going to show you one case example, and then the other you've already heard me talk about endlessly when it comes to MLM, so I'm not going to rehash it. But let's just go over to here and have a look-see-poo. I wonder, should I make the background the pyramids of this screen capture scene? What are my options? Patrick Bet David. Okay. The Unicorn La La Land. The pyramids. Okay, let's do the pyramids. That looks good to me. All right. So this video... Oh, shit. Shite. The video that I want to show you... Where the fuck did it go? Here. It was in its own tab for some reason. All right, here we are. This video is called "Our Inability to Understand the Exponential Function is Our Biggest Weakness." I literally saw this on it was like Instagram or TikTok that I saw this somehow. 3 weeks ago it was uploaded. It has 777,000 views, 77767 for all the kids at home. And I just want you to learn this wisdom. Okay, here we are. It's a very short video.
The greatest shortcoming of the human race is our inability to understand the exponential function. And the exponential function is the mathematical function that you'd write down if you're going to describe the size of anything that was growing steadily. And for example, 5% per year, the 5% is a fixed fraction, the per year is a fixed length of time, and that's what we always want to talk about, just ordinary steady growth. And people do not understand the implications of this. And an example I use is that if you have something growing steadily, you have a doubling time, and it's easy to calculate. Take the number 70, divide it by the percent growth per unit time, and that gives you the doubling time. So for instance, if you had 7% per year, you divide the 70 by 7, and 10 years is the doubling time. And so what does that mean? Well, one of the examples I use is the cost of an all-day lift ticket to ski at Vail. In 1963, when Vail first opened the ski area, it was $5 for an all-day lift ticket. Well, it doubles every 10 years. 1973 it was $10. 1983 it was $20. 1993 it was $40. 2003 it was $80. And if this keeps up, by 2013 it'll be $160 a day to ski. And when I show this to students, you can just see the gasps around in the audience. And I say, this is what 7% means. And most people don't have a clue. I once had a banker in the audience when I gave my talk, and afterwards he came up and he said, well, he said, that's just the same arithmetic as compound interest, isn't it? And I said, yeah, it's exactly the same. Oh, he said, I knew that applied to dollars. I didn't know it applied to people. If you have bacteria and they grow by doubling, and one bacterium divides to become 2, the 2 divided to become 4, and the 4 become 8, 16, so on. Now that's steady growth, just ordinary growth. And if they double in number every minute, and if you had just one bacterium in a bottle, an empty bottle at 11 in the morning, and then if you observe that the bottle's full at 12 noon, then you've got a case of steady growth in a finite environment. And at what time was the bottle half full? So you'll get answers like 11:30. No, this is steady growth. It doubles in number every minute. It'll be half full at 1 minute before 12. And the second question, if you were an average bacterium in that bottle, at what time would you first realize that you were running out of space? At 12 noon, the bottle's full. 1 minute before it's half full. 2 minutes before it's a quarter full, then an eighth and a 16th. Let me ask you, at 5 minutes before 12, and the bottle's only 3% full and is 97% open space, just yearning for development, how many of you would realize that there was a problem?
Welcome to the...
There we go. Mic was muted. So that video was a really good representation, especially the bacteria example that he gave, was a really good representation of what he's talking about, the exponential function, exponents, things growing exponentially. And people in MLM specifically love to preach this to describe everything, but completely miss it and try to disregard it and downplay it and deny it when it comes to their own business model. So, for example, in my videos before, I may have shown people in MLMs talking about how if you recruit 6 people, all you need to do is recruit 6 people. So, in the example that we just watched from that gentleman, he's talking about a doubling, a 2x, right? In an MLM, do they ever just talk about a 2x? Very rarely in my experience. They talk about a 3x, a 5x, a 6x, and so on. Recruit 5 friends, recruit 10 friends. Okay, in my Unicity video, the CEO, Stuart Hughes, is on stage talking about save 10. Well, then those 10 save 10. He says this verbatim in the video. So you've heard me explain before that in MLM, you can only repeat this process of 5 people recruiting 5 people 13 times before you exceed the population of the earth. When I say this, people like Dominic Izzo, whoever, will try to come back and reason or argue, well, if that was to happen, why hasn't it happened yet? And this is, in my opinion, a bad faith, purposeful attempt to miss the point. The point is that if it works the way they say it does, we would see the entire Earth joining Amway, for example. If it does work the way they say. The fact that it hasn't happened yet is proof that what they're preaching doesn't actually work the way they say it does. It's proof of their deception. It's proof that they're lying. It's proof that it doesn't work. Because if it was really an amazing opportunity that everyone could succeed in, if it really was a level playing field, if it really was something where all you had to do was be committed and believe and follow the plan, then we would all be in Amway. But of course, we can't all be in Amway because you still need people to be doctors and lawyers and bus drivers and restaurant workers and the rest of it. So they love to downplay it when it comes to pointing out how their supposed business model is just an endless chain pyramid scheme scam. But they love to give examples like, well, would you rather have $1 million right now or a penny doubled every day for 30 days? And you think, okay, on day 1, I have 1 penny. Day 2, 2 pennies. Day 3, 4 pennies. There's no way that it's going to go quickly enough for me to have, by the 30th day, there's no way that's going to be more than $1 million. But because of the exponential function, it does. It's much more than $1 million. A penny doubled every day for 30 days is much more than $1 million because it gets to a point where before you even notice it, the doubling has taken, you're doubling increasingly bigger numbers. And so it just explodes at a certain point. So that's what he's posting. Some people would rather have $1 million. So it's making a very simple point about numbers. And I want to, this next video is the one I want to show you. This is about immigration, okay? And this gentleman does a similar but different example showing how the exponential function plays its role also when it comes to immigration. And I think this is relevant because you can sort of look at the, okay, example, in Canada for specifically, there's a lot of scam allegations around the, I guess you would call it the immigration infrastructure. In Canada, we infamously have these diploma mills, okay, fake universities, fake colleges, where people, mainly from India, are advertised to in their home countries to, or rather hometowns and cities. India is so massive that I often think it's its own continent, unfortunately. But, okay, within the country of India, people are advertised to about coming to Canada, pursuing a life in Canada, and they spend what is to them exorbitant amounts of money. Sometimes they're spending their family's life savings to come to Canada, only to find out that they've actually bought into a scheme, really, where people who are, and again, this is all alleged that I've heard from different sources and different reports online, where there are allegedly people who are in charge of the immigration, the visas being granted, etc., who are just sort of handing out visas to the highest bidder or assigning visas or looking the other way when it comes to these diploma mills because they're getting kickbacks from somebody on either end of the transaction. So these diploma mills are not actually really teaching people. They're just using them as an excuse to get a student visa for them to come over here. And then you have a twofold problem where these people are coming over underprepared, whether that's financially, culturally, their ability to speak the language or one of the main languages of Canada. So they're being scammed. Undoubtedly, the people from these countries are being scammed themselves. And then it's also a scam on the native population of Canada, or the existing population, I should say, because now you have more people, so there's more demand for apartments, homes. So what happens to demand? Well, prices skyrocket. The apartment that I had from the end of 2020 to the end of 2023 was $1,250 Canadian dollars when I first moved in. Then it was $1,350. Then it was $1,450. And by the third year, when they wanted me, when they gave me the renewal agreement to sign for another year, they told me the price was going to be $18.20. Mind you, 3 years before, it was $12.50. Okay? Now, only 3 short years later, it's gone up, not quite double, but a large amount, $600 almost, in 3 years. It's just absurd. So it's a scam for everybody, you know, and then there's situation. It becomes a situation where, unfortunately, people take it out on each other, or people take it out on the immigrants, and they think the immigrants are the problem. Well, it's sort of an oversimplification to say immigrants are the problem, because over-immigration would be a symptom of the problem, not the problem itself. And what is the actual problem? Surprise, surprise, it's greed. Just like with everything else, it's greed. You know, it always leads back to somebody's making a ton of fucking money off of this. Unfortunately, it always seems to lead back to that in every situation that we're looking at or talking about. So I do feel for the people who try to immigrate to Canada seeking this Canadian dream. I actually had an Uber driver maybe 2 months ago, and he was telling me how he came from India. First, he was living in Toronto, and then he thought it was too busy and noisy in Toronto, which is weird coming from a guy who's from India, which is infamously noisy and, you know, overcrowded. So he came to Edmonton, and he's in Edmonton driving Uber. He told me he works like 16 hours a day from 5 a.m. to whatever time that is at night. And I thought, wow, that's insane. How do you have time for a life? Like, what do you want to do? We're talking. And he says his dream is to be a movie editor. And literally, he specifically said, and work with Steven Spielberg. So, you know, Steven Spielberg's getting up there in age. I don't know. I mean, nothing's impossible, but he had a dream for sure. And I said to him, is there an avenue for you to do that in Canada? And he said, no, actually, it would be better if I do it in India, because most of the big Hollywood movies are outsourcing the editing to Bangalore, India anyways. So it was almost like, what are we doing here, you know? And I felt bad too, because he's not living a life. If he's telling the truth that he's working for 16 hours, hell, even if he's working for 12 hours a day, driving Uber, it's like, is that a, you know, did he come here for that? Did he leave his family and his friends for that, to come to another country and face xenophobia and, you know, become a stereotype? I don't think so. I don't think so. So he seemed to be in good spirits. He seemed to be optimistic about the journey. But yeah, this exponential function applies to everything. And I want to show you how it applies to this specific topic of what we're discussing here with immigration. So let's take a look at this. This is a really, really good video.
Some people say that mass immigration into the United States can help reduce world poverty. Is that true? Well, no, it's not. And let me show you why. This gumball represents the 1 million legal immigrants that the United States has taken every year on average since 1990. Now, who in the world deserves our humanitarian compassion? The World Bank has one measure of the desperately poor of the world. They make less than $2 a day. And how many people make less than $2 a day in the world? We'll start with Africa. In Africa alone, there are 650 million people who make less than $2 a day. 650 million. And in India, another 890 million people, desperately poor. China adds another 480 million people, making less than $2 a day. And unfortunately, the rest of Asia has a heartbreaking 810 million people who the World Bank says make less than $2 a day. And finally, there's 105 million of Latin America's population that are desperately poor. All told, the World Bank says there are 3 billion people in the world, 3 billion people who are desperately poor, making less than $2 a day. That's 3,000 gumballs. And every year, we take 1 million and suggest that we've somehow made a humanitarian difference. Of course, we don't pull our immigrants from these desperately poor populations, do we? These people are too poor, too sick, too disconnected to make it here as immigrants. we tend to pull our immigrants out of the better off poor of the world. And Mexico tends to define the type of immigrant that we bring here because the plurality of people come from Mexico. And Mexico is poor. How many people in the world live in countries that have average incomes lower than that of Mexico? And the World Bank tells us that that number is these 3 billion plus another 2.6 billion people. 5.6 billion people in the world who live in countries with average incomes below that of Mexico. That's 5,600 gumballs. And so what is it that the elites are telling us? They're telling us that when we take this 1 million immigrants, that we somehow or another are tackling world poverty. And we have to do it regardless of the effect on our unemployed, the working poor, the most vulnerable members of our society, regardless of the effect on our natural resources. Even if we went by the most radical proposals in Washington, which are to actually double our immigration to 2 million a year, which would totally overwhelm our physical, natural, and social infrastructures, we couldn't make a noticeable difference. And we may be really hurting the impoverished people of the world because the million that we do take are among the most energetic, often the better educated, certainly the most dissatisfied people that if they did not immigrate would be the agents for change to improve the lot of all the people in these countries. The true heroes in the global humanitarian field are the people in these countries who have the wherewithal to immigrate to another country, but instead stay in their countries, to apply their skills to help their fellow countrymen. Unfortunately, our immigration system tends to entice these very type of people to abandon their countrymen. The impossibility of making even a dent is actually worse than it looks here. Because last year, when we took 1 million immigrants, these countries added, births over deaths, 80 million more people into the impoverished population. And this year, Congress is bringing in 1 million legal immigrants. And this year, according to the United Nations, these countries are expected to add another 80 million people. And next year, you can be quite sure that Congress, unless stopped by the American voters, will bring in another 1 million immigrants. And these countries, unfortunately, will be adding another 80 million people into these impoverished nations. We could take 5 million a year, but we'd never get ahead of what's happening in these countries. Not in this century. Don't you see? Immigration can never be an effective or significant way to deal with the suffering people of the world. They have to be helped where they live. 99.9% of them will never be able to immigrate to a rich country. There's no hope for that. They have to bloom where they're planted. The only place that 99.9% of these people can be helped is where they live. Let's help them there.
Such an excellent video, such a good visual example that he does with the gumballs, all the way leading up to the dramatic, moment where the gumballs spill over, It seems that there are, I'm trying to think if there's anything that doesn't use this. It seems that there are several evils in the world, several life-destroying, life-altering, negatively impactful evils that all utilize the exponential function for evil. Example, we talked about multi-level marketing. They tell you recruit 5 friends who recruit 5 friends. The exponential function makes it such that we have a blind spot to how quickly this number would actually explode and become unfeasible notwithstanding the fact that by the time you join an MLM, unless it's brand new, you're probably already many layers down yourself. So you don't even realize that you're not starting out at the top. They draw it on paper like that. Here's you. Here's the 5 below you. But what about the 5 above me and the 5 above them? So this is something, the exponential function is used to deceive people when it comes to MLM. He showed it there with immigration. Not so much the exponential function, but how bringing in too many people is actually useless. But think about the exponential function when it comes to all of those jars of gumballs, okay? Imagine, I mean, he showed it, right? He showed the pink gumballs right here on this part. Where is it? Can y'all not see my mouse? Okay, fine. The pink gumballs on the leftmost small tower that represented the new births over deaths, the population growth in these impoverished countries, was such that immigration isn't going to solve it. Did you know India could send 1 million people to every other country that wasn't India, and they would still have over 1 billion people? Indian people are not at risk of going extinct anytime soon. I'm happy to tell you that. So when people try to say that, you know, that those who don't want more immigration from India into Canada, the UK, the United States are being too harsh, I mean, regardless of what your feelings are about it or how generous and empathetic a person you are, there's just no arguing with the mathematics of it. Just like with MLM, it doesn't matter how much you believe in new age spirituality, new age thinking, belief, manifestation, the secret. It doesn't matter. You can't contend with math. These are facts. Never quarrel with facts, a wise man once said. And so, sorry, I just had a thought and I'm writing it down. So, you know, if you actually look at global statistics when it comes to population, percentage of global population that is white. Let's look at the global population of people that are white. This comes from X. Global population, Rob, pull that up. Global white population is considered to be 7% and 16%, which is over 8 billion as of 2024. Okay, so 8 billion people, between 7% and 16% are white, what we would classify as white. So it's sort of a funny, like, psyop, because when I was a kid, you know, I'm Lebanese, I'm Arab. When I was a kid, we always heard about minorities, and I thought I was a minority. When I realized, actually, I'm not a minority. Globally speaking, if you extrapolate your view and zoom out a little bit, I'm actually not a minority. I'm a majority. You know, almost half of the entire world's population is just 2 places, India and China. Half. You know, you had a 50-50 chance of being Indian or Chinese when you were born, if you think about it, which is insane. So, this idea that bringing in more people is the solution is not only just mathematically incorrect, as this gentleman effectively showed in his video, but then also consider how the exponential function applies to this ever-growing population. Look at this. And these are poor countries, as he established, impoverished countries. Look at these jars. Imagine if all of those people in those jars, well, I guess it would be 1 man and 1 woman. So half of the people in those jars had kids and then doubled the population. You know what I mean? It's like there's just simply too much, too many, and bringing in more people hurts things in, I mean, I'm using Canada as an example. A, because I'm from here. I have the anecdotal experience of having lived here. And 2, we're about 1/10 of the economy and population of the United States. So when 1 million people are brought into the United States, that's one thing. When 1 million people are brought into Canada, it actually significantly affects the overall demographics of Canada. 1 million new people from China, for example, into the US is not actually going to be a noticeable difference when you walk around and look outside, typically. In Canada, 1 million people from anywhere is going to, like, I'll just say, anecdotally speaking, any restaurant I go to, it seems, especially fast food, retail, customer service of some kind. Everybody is Indian. Most people are Indian. You know, you have to accept at this point in Canada that if you're going to any place where you have to conduct business, when I go to the registry, when I book an appointment, the registry, it's like the DMV in Canada. I'm not talking about like the predator registry. I guess in the US you call it the registry for sexual predators. But you have to accept that you're going to be, you know, probably not dealing with somebody who when I was a kid was what felt like, again, the majority. I felt like I was a minority because most of the kids in my school were white. I played hockey growing up for 10 years. Most of the kids were white. I remember one year we had one Chinese kid on the team. Another year we had one Indian guy on the team. For the most part, everyone was white. I was used to growing up being the only person who wasn't white. I just went to a friend's birthday party last week when we were watching the Patrick Bet-David DJ Vlad interview. I was the only person there who wasn't white. I was like, this is so refreshing, you know? It's like when I was a kid again. You know, it was my white friend and his white girlfriend and then all of his white dude friends. We're talking named Bryce, Joe, Brett, Logan, the creme de la creme of white guy names, you know? And then their girlfriends. So, you know, I'm just making an example. It's obviously a dramatic example. But I want to show you this chart. This is really something. So let's see if I can pull this up on a clean page. Okay, here we are. Here we go. What you're looking at is a chart showing the immigration in Canada. It's the total number and type of immigrants to Canada, changed dramatically starting in 2015. So I was born in 96, okay, nearly 20 years before this. So let's look at permanent residents. It stays relatively the same. There's a dip during 2020, obviously, because of COVID, and then it spikes up a little bit after COVID. Look at non-permanent immigration. So we're talking about students, going back to the diploma mills, the scam, literal scams, a literal scam, okay? And temporary workers. Okay, this is one thing I was also going to say that I forgot about. A lot of people say, they try to shift the blame onto white people. They say, well, white people are lazy. They didn't want to work. That's why we need to bring in all the Indian immigrants. However, could it actually be the opposite? Could it be that we brought in so many immigrants that the cost of living inflated? Because like I said, more people coming in means more demand for houses, means the price for houses and apartments is going to go up, which means that working a minimum wage job doesn't allow you to live anymore. Which is why it would make sense that people born and raised in Canada don't want to work those jobs anymore. They'd rather live at home with their parents because what's the point? I'm not going to be able to afford to live anyways. And then how do they put a Band-Aid on that problem? Well, rather than unwinding the immigration and kicking people out and making it so that the cost of living goes down and those jobs actually do pay enough for you to live, now they say, okay, well, we'll just bring in cheap temporary foreign workers who will work those jobs. And you hear about stories like in Brampton, Ontario, where I read an article last year that said like 15 or 20 people from India are all living in a one-bedroom apartment. It's absurd. So, yeah, you know, the blame shifting towards white people and trying to accuse it of being like, trying to accuse being anti, not even, I wouldn't even call it anti-immigration, just you're being anti-over-immigration. It's too much. I don't think anybody is against immigration. And I also said on a stream recently, I actually don't even believe that anyone is really racist. The idea, like, I've honestly never met someone in my life who hated somebody just because of their skin color. Truly, I mean that. Maybe they said something racist. I've had racism, you know, said to me. Like I said, I'm Lebanese. I was in first grade when 9/11 happened. You can imagine what the low-hanging fruit was when it came to making jokes or picking on somebody who looked like me in the early 2000s. What did they say? Osama bin Laden, Al-Qaeda, terrorist, whatever. So people saying that, yeah, they're saying something that's racist, but they're associating that hatred with an idea of what those kinds of people are like. Okay? Every movie growing up indoctrinated people to think that Arabs were all terrorists, right? The villain in every movie was a person that looked like one of my relatives, Mohammed, Abdul, and it's all, they're all terrorists. Even Iron Man 1. Think about Iron Man 1. Who kidnaps Iron Man? The 10 Rings. He's in Afghanistan or something showing the weapons. The 10 Rings bomb his motorcade. And then he's in the cave and they're all saying Habibi, Allahu Akbar, whatever. And then fast forward to 2021 when they did the movie Shang-Chi. Now the 10 Rings is Chinese. So maybe this was an international gang. But in Shang-Chi, I find it interesting that now the 10 Rings is no longer Arabs. They're Chinese. And who was the most hatred and like sort of skepticism about culturally towards in 2021? The Chinese, China, COVID, right? So anyways, you get my point. But yeah, this is the thing. It's like they try to make us hate each other. They want black people to hate white people. They want all of us to be at odds with each other. They want Christians to hate Muslims, etc. My point is, don't blame the immigrants themselves, because in most cases, they themselves are also getting scammed. Okay, they thought they were coming here for a better life. They were getting scammed. And then because of them coming here and the government or whoever's behind these scams not preparing efficiently or not caring that there wasn't enough apartments, there wasn't enough houses, there wasn't enough jobs, and the jobs didn't pay enough to commensurate to line up with how much the cost of living was going to increase. Sorry, I just got distracted reading the chat for a second. They got scammed, and then, if you were already here and you feel like, fuck, everything's expensive, now you're also being scammed. So it's very easy to look at, oh, it's the immigrants, because that's who's right in front of you. But it's more nuanced than that. So here's a great example. Look at this chart. The non-permanent people who came here, who were students, which we established already, there's a massive scam as it relates to student visas in Canada, diploma mills. Temporary workers, this is an example of greed. If employers at Tim Hortons, for example, know that they can pay less for a temporary foreign worker than they would have to pay an actual Canadian citizen, they're going to say, and they can scam too, they can fill out a form online to Government of Canada that says, we've been trying to find people who want to work, but nobody wants to work. It's probably not true. It might not be true. Even if it is true, why don't the people want to work? Because there's no point almost. It's too expensive. That's why you see people trying to get remote jobs and go to other countries, go to Thailand or whatever. Oh, thank you for this. Hold on,
baby just dropped a bag, 40 Canadian
Ava,
dollars.
thank you.
Pink heart.
Miss Ava baby in the chat, everybody. Big ups. Thank you, Miss Ava. So I just wanted to make that point very clear after showing the gumball video with the gentleman talking about the world poverty and immigration, is that it's too simple and too uneducated a stance to simply blame immigrants. It's not immigrants. Immigrants, too many immigrants is a symptom of the problem that comes along with too much immigration. They themselves are not the problem. As a matter of fact, they are probably getting scammed themselves. Okay? They're stuck. They're here being forced to work because that's the basis of their visa. It's a work visa. Or they come here to have a student visa but don't end up actually getting an education, and now they're kind of stuck trying to drive Uber or do Uber Eats, and it's like, what kind of quality of life do you think that is getting them when there's no real prospects of better upward mobility or career trajectory? So that's all I'm trying to point out. And you see how this scam has skyrocketed. Look at from 2015, we go up and up and up. Look, see it says here on the left side, 1 million, okay? Exactly the amount that this gentleman was showing with the gumballs. And he was showing it with the United States, which again is nearly 10 times the population of Canada. So you can imagine how much more impactful it is for Canada to get 1 million people than for the US. By 2018, 2019, we're nearing 1.5 million, 1.25 million immigrants. Of course, it dips down during COVID. And then it just fucking explodes above 2 million people, most of whom are non-permanent immigration, students and temporary workers. Do you think this made things better? Why am I even talking about this? As a guy who normally talks about multi-level marketing and scams, how does this relate to talking about Dave Grimaldi, the CEO of the Direct Selling Association? I'm trying to make a point, as long-winded as I may have been on it, that this exponential function is used for nefarious purposes time and again. What is disease, if not bacteria multiplying? What is the increased cost of living in Canada, if not immigration exponentially multiplying? What is the decision from lawmakers to bring in more immigrants a symptom of, if not exponential function of too much population growth in the poorer countries, as was shown by this gentleman here? What is usury? Now we're getting deep. What is usury? The illegal action or practice of lending money at unreasonably high rates of interest. I saw a great video where a gentleman explained this better than anybody has ever explained it before, and I'm ashamed that it took me as many years of my life to understand this. It was an old video that randomly came up on my feed one day, and it still does not have many views. It's called Usury, Mathematical Fraud Explained, 13 years ago, and it only has 84,000 views. I'm not gonna bore you with this whole video because it's 12 and a half minutes, but I remember it because it had such an effect on me, and I'm gonna explain it to you very quickly as well, okay? Here's what usury really does, okay? Here's how it works, and here's how the exponential function is used to create this financial system, or rather is factored into this financial system that we live in currently, which is also, I think you could argue, a scam as well. Here's how it works. Let's pretend, here, I'm going to tell a story. I'm going to tell you a story, boys and girls. Let's go back to the let's go back to this page, and I actually will go, no, I'll go here. I will go into the Unicorn La La Land as Benjamin requested. So we're in Unicorn La La Land in order to understand this, because I'm telling you a fable right now. By the way, Starla Marie says, I used Marco's promo code with Aura to get one of their plans. Hell yeah. I hope you get a kickback. It's been a while since I seen you do a sponsorship. Thank you, Starla. Really appreciate it. Sponsors, hit me up. Honestly, if you have a company and you have an advertising budget, I really like the idea of just having one exclusive sponsor who pays me a lump sum of money for the whole year, and I don't advertise anything else but that one product or service. And I can shout it out in every stream. I can add them to the little banner at the bottom of the page there, so it's on screen all the time. I can talk about them in each video. I think that would be awesome. But hey, it is what it is. Let me explain to you, boys and girls, what this, where did it go? What this usury thing is all about. All right. So let's pretend there's no money, and there's me, and there's you, and there's, pick your favorite person from the chat. Hi, Specs. I just created $10. Boom. Now there's money. All right? I've just created money for the first time. Where's the Mr. Krabs? Money. I've created money, and there's $10 that exist in the world. You and the other person you chose from the chat, your buddy from the chat, I'm giving you both $1. So now I have $8, you each have $1. Still, there are $10 in the economy, okay? I tell you both, I'm giving you, yeah, we gave him the money, boom, literally. Where's the Patrick Bidet? Gave him the money, boom. Me explaining usury.
Hey, Marco, don't do this.
Got you, Netanyahu. Okay, you each have $1, I have 8. There was 10 to begin with, there's still 10. Here's the catch, here's where the scam comes in, very early on. I tell you both have $1, but I actually want 10% interest. Okay? So now you each owe me back in interest $1.10. Okay? Or if we want to make this a little simpler so we don't have to deal with decimals, let's change it. Let's say I made $100 and I gave you each 10 and you owe me 10% interest, so you each owe me $1 on top of what I initially gave you. So you each owe me $11. Are we okay with that? So there's $100 in the economy. You got 10, person A got 10, and person B got 10. All right? You both owe me 10% interest. So you owe me 11 and you owe me 11. How is this possible? How could you pay me back? Both of you can't pay me back. There's only $100 that even exist. So how could you both pay me back $11? It doesn't exist. What, I'm going to now have $102 when this is all said and done? But there was only 100. So there's a way that one of you can pay me back. Not both of you. Only one of you can pay me back. The one of you that pays me back has to get it from the other person. You sell them something, you rob them, you whatever. So one of you now has 11. The other one of you has 9. Person with the $11 pays me back, and we're good. I've now made $1 in profit because of the interest. I charged $1 interest. The other one of you is in a tough spot now because now you only have $9. There's no way for you to get it. You could get it back from that other person, but they've already paid up their loan in full. Pretend they have 0 once again. So now they have 0, okay? You have 9. I have 91. Or I guess not, he paid me back 10 plus 1. So yeah, I have 91. You still have 10, but you owe me 11. No, sorry, you have 9. You have 9 because he got the 1 from you. And so there's no way for you to pay back the principal and the interest. So you're stuck. You're going to default, and I'm going to come take everything and then some. Okay? The only way for you to be able to do it is for me to either print more money or for us to introduce a third person who also has $10, and then you have to try to get it from them. Yeah, what if you had 6 and 7? Yeah. So it's a zero-sum game. People don't understand what the word zero-sum game means. A zero-sum game means, this is literally the definition, a scenario where one person's gain is equal to another person's loss, and the net result is 0. Meaning, for me to win, you have to lose. Okay? This is the problem, is we're basically playing musical chairs with the money. Only one of you can ever pay me back. The other one of you is going to be fucked. And the only way you can unfuck yourself is to either borrow more money, putting you in more debt, or get it from someone else. And the chain keeps continuing. Meanwhile, at every new person we add to the scheme, I'm making interest. I'm the bank here, right? I'm making interest. Now, imagine this applies to a country. Imagine a country is the one who owes money. Well, think of the exponential function that the gentleman talked about before in the first video we watched, where the bacteria is doubling and doubling and doubling. First, it's just $10 with $1 interest. Okay, it's fine. But then the $1 doubles. Now it's $2. Then the 2 doubles and it's 4. Then the 4 doubles and it's 8, 16, 32, 64. Very soon, at just 10%, if you're unable to pay it, it's going to balloon so that the interest is way more even than the initial principal loan. So you're just going to be getting crushed by interest, servicing the debt, paying interest. Straight profit to me. I love it. I don't care either way because I'm making interest. Whether you default on the loan and I take everything you have, I still win. And if you pay me back, I win. So fuck it. Now imagine that the interest isn't 10%, it's 20%. You know, it's a predatory payday loan. It's one of these cash stores, okay? People just get buried in this type of stuff. Buried. Because it's something that gets away from you so quickly. Just like the gumball thing, just like the bacteria example, just like the multi-level marketing 5x5 recruiting 5 more people calculation, just like the immigration thing, and now just like money. So it's sort of a scam. We're sort of living in a scam at every layer because the financial system itself is based on this impossible math, the usury. The immigration is clearly impossible to contend with. The multi-level marketing lies and promises are impossible to contend with. So there's literally several different elements of evil that are employing the exponential function. And maybe it's because people who are running it don't understand that and it's getting away from them. You know, I love the example with the bacteria because they showed that 1 minute before the clock struck 12, the jar was only half full. And then a minute later, it was over full. A minute later, it would have been 2 jars. But think about it, it took almost the whole hour for it to even fill up 1 jar. And now minute by minute, it will be continuing to double. 2 jars, 4 jars, 6. So this is, you know, student loan, MLM, you know. Marco just described Canadian economy, student loan. Klarna interest. Pickle says Klarna interest is $35.99. APR plus BNPL is fucked, but people choose it. Free will there. Yeah, I mean, I remember reading one time, paying for something with a credit card is the most expensive way of buying anything. It makes sense. If your interest is 10% on whatever you owe and you spend $100, really you're just choosing to pay $110. You're getting it quicker, sure, but you're spending more. Oversimplification, obviously, but So we established the gumball thing. We established the immigration is out of control. I mean, 2 million. In that video that we watched with the gentleman with the gumballs, he says that even the most drastic, extreme policy suggestions in the U.S. would be to double the immigration rate and bring in 2 million people. But we're bringing in 2 million people to Canada, which has a population 1/10 of the U.S., and we're doing double. The math just simply ain't mathing. It just simply isn't mathing. So now I want to bring this to the main topic of the video today, okay? Multi-level marketing. Something they might call direct selling. They might call it social selling. They might call it network marketing, okay? You might call it a pyramid scheme. I'm going to watch it. This is a propaganda video. It's only 2 minutes long. Let's watch it. It's called What is Direct Selling? And let's see how people try to sell this exponential function scheme as something other than what it is. Did you know 65 million people are direct sellers? Well, hold on. Are direct sellers... Yay, so much fun. We did it. Obviously everything in that video was a lie. As a matter of fact, the claims they made were the opposite of what they claimed. So we know this. I don't need to get into this. It's just absurd. Even though this was uploaded 14 years ago in 2011, even by then, what they call direct selling, as they described it, one person selling to another, sometimes people like the product so much that they want to become a seller themselves. Even in 2011, this was an absurd proposition and idea that people, millions of people, how much did they say? 65 million people across the globe and 15 million in the US? Yeah, 15 million direct sellers. It's such an absurd idea that even in 2011, there were this many people truly selling products to other people. In a world of Amazon, Walmart, Target, Costco, you know, even just Amazon, forget the brick and mortars. You can get virtually anything in one day with the click of a button. so long as your credit card is attached, okay? The idea that there was millions of people running around selling stuff through Facebook Marketplace and Messenger and from the trunk of their car, to the point that it was so fun and it was generating so much money. And, you know, they make it seem like it's a very lucrative offer. Oh, $115 billion. It's such an absurd concept that the only thing you could really call that is propaganda. It's so absurd. It's even more absurd today in 2025. You know, Robert Kiyosaki has a book called The Business of the Future, which I talked about last year in my Robert Kiyosaki video, where he talks about how network marketing is the business of the future, and he has a bunch of nonsense justifications for explaining why. But just ask yourself if it makes any sense that millions of people would be choosing to do this for a living, and that they could even make a living, never mind a lucrative income where they're millionaires driving Lamborghinis and whatever, the stuff you see on social media from these people. Do you really think that that's possible from selling essential oils and protein powder, you know, Herbalife shakes, It Works, you know, LuLaRoe leggings, Amway products, life insurance? Do you really think that it's feasible that somebody making a, 10% commission? Less? Maybe more? Maybe 20% commission off a $40 bottle of shampoo or protein powder is actually going to sell enough just off the back of their own selling efforts that they're going to be able to live a high quality of life? Of course, the answer is no. And they'll rebut me by saying, oh, well, that's why we build teams. So let me get this straight. You building a team of people so that you can benefit off their selling efforts as well is what's going to make you the money so that you don't have to do all the selling yourself. They say, yes, of course. So, okay, so then there's an incentive to you recruiting more people selling, which really means buying, because the people that are below you on your team, they're buying from you. So you don't even need to actually go find genuine customers who want the shampoo, for example. You just need to sell it to the next generation of downline, the next 5 people in the chain. And then those 5 people will sell. So I would say, so there's an incentive to recruiting and getting those people to buy, which they call selling, but really it's buying. And they'll say yes. And I'll say, okay. So 2 things don't make sense. One is, why would you recruit your own competitor? If you're really about selling products, recruiting your competitor would actually hinder your efforts. It would actually hurt your efforts. If the way I truly make money is by selling essential oils, the last thing I would want is more people selling essential oils. This is why the FTC brings cases against Amazon, for example, for anti-competitive monopolistic practices, because it's not a fair marketplace if there's a monopoly. But of course, it's good for the monopoly if you're the only one selling a certain thing. If you're the only pizza shop in town and people are craving pizza, I've got good news for you. So MLM is saying, oh, but we actually want this. Direct sellers actually want to recruit more competition. Well, that doesn't make sense. So there must be another way you're making money. And then you find out, oh, well, our company's compensation plan says that if you recruit this many people who also buy products, who also spend a monthly quota, it increases the amount of bonus money that you'll make or the amount of commission that you'll make off of your downline's purchases. Oh, so you mean a pyramid scheme? Oh, so you just described a pyramid scheme where your income and your revenue is directly tied to recruiting people who pay to buy more stuff, people who repeatedly pay into the system over and over and over again. A Ponzi scheme with extra steps. Right. So unlike the video we just watched, it's actually not about having passion and joining the right company and following the plan or whatever else they said. It's actually the opposite of that. It's actually about being completely deceived. So how does this all tie together? I hope this is making sense, because the person we're going to look at now, Dave Grimaldi, is somebody who prior to prior to his involvement as the CEO of the Direct Selling Association, he was actually involved in something else that relies not only upon the exponential function, but also the greater fool theory. What is the greater fool theory? Let's take a look at it. The greater fool theory is the idea you can make a profit by buying an overvalued asset because you can always sell it to someone else, a greater fool, for an even higher price. Ironically, this is sort of like MLM as well. You realize very quickly you're not actually going to make money off selling lotions and potions, but you can convince someone else that they could make a lot of money if only they would join under you and pay you every month to buy more products, and so on and so on and so on. The realization continues until the people at the bottom are left holding the bag. This approach ignores an asset's intrinsic value and relies on speculative bubbles to generate profits, but it's risky because the bubble will eventually burst, leaving the last buyer with an overvalued asset they cannot sell. Sounds like MLMs, doesn't it? Sounds also like crypto. And let's look at this article. Blockchain Association announces Jake Chervinsky and Dave Grimaldi as executive vice presidents. This is 2021. So Dave Grimaldi, head of government relations relating to blockchain. So this is the guy who was previously in charge of government relations. I'm not going to say corruption, but government relations when it comes to blockchain. Okay? Dave joins the Blockchain Association with more than a decade of experience in various policy roles, both inside and outside the government. He recently led the Interactive Advertising Bureau's policy team as executive vice president, advocating for innovation and online privacy-related issues before Congress, federal agencies, and international capitals. So he's obviously, he's well-connected. His face and name are known amongst the halls of government, it would seem. Okay? He worked in federal government as senior counsel for the Office of Majority Whip Jim Clyburn, okay, and chief of staff to FCC Commissioner Mignon Clyburn. Okay, made it up. So, actually, it's actually interesting because Steve Hassan, cult expert Steve Hassan, posted on his Instagram story today that he believes crypto is a cult because there's no... Let me go to actually his Instagram story where he shared a video about this. He shared a video about this on his story here. Let's look at it.
Legitimate use for crypto. And nobody's using it for anything legitimate. Fewer than 2% of Americans have ever made a payment in crypto. It's purely a speculative asset or a vehicle for crime.
So you're saying Al-Qaeda and Venezuelan gangs are just in their crypto wallets exchanging BTC?
Well, actually, they're mostly using Tether. They're mostly using stable coins these days.
Well, if it's so bad, why will the comments of this video be filled with people screaming at us, calling us idiots?
Oh, because it's a cult.
Okay. I don't know if I'd go so far as to say it's a cult, but certainly there's a great blind spot and great misunderstanding about it. So this is what Dave Grimaldi, not necessarily crypto, but blockchain. What does blockchain really mean? I mean, what else does it apply to aside from crypto? What exactly is a blockchain? Decentralized digital ledger of transactions that are recorded in blocks. I mean, we know this based on its relation to crypto. That's how I understand it to be applied anyways. So this is Dave Grimaldi. I'm a numbers guy for real. He's now the CEO of the Direct Selling Association. Before he was the head of something or involved in something that they were calling blockchain. Now he's part of something they're calling direct selling or multi-level marketing. So I just released a video actually yesterday, which gives a great examples of how Dave Grimaldi uses deceptive language, lies, doublespeak to grovel in front of politicians. The video is called Big Pyramid is Desperate. It's actually a sequel to this video called Big Pyramid is Weaker Than You Think. Okay? So we're seeing Dave Grimaldi's, in my opinion, pitiful attempts to try to convince lawmakers that there shouldn't be increased regulation around what these people call direct selling. Because, as we saw in that video where everyone's fun, We're so committed to integrity that we even have a code of ethics. Ooh. Doesn't every fucking company or industry have a code of ethics? You know, I'm pretty sure you could go to your local McDonald's and they have some policy and code of ethics as well. You know, it's not as big a thing as they're making it out to be, in my opinion. It's strictly enforced by the direct selling, or by what? The Direct Selling Association. Right. Direct Selling Association, Direct Selling Self-Regulatory Council. They keep coming back to this. We're strictly regulated. We actually do a lot. Nobody's more efficient. And is the word scrupulous appropriate here? Yes, diligent, thorough, and extremely attentive to details. They claim nobody is more scrupulous about them, about multi-level marketing than them, even though truth in advertising. Anyways, I won't spoil the video. Go watch that video if you haven't seen it. Add it to your watch later right now. The Big Pyramid is Desperate video. But now he's in charge of direct selling, and I want to hear it from him. What he thinks is so great about direct selling in his own words. Okay, so let's take a look at it. First, let me read some of your comments here. Pickle has zero debt for over 10 years. I need to get like you, Pickle. You know, these lawyers aren't cheap. These lawyers force you to turn to the credit card, unfortunately. Appreciate you, Busy. You're impressed with my speed reading? Yeah, is it as good as Patrick Bet-David's? Burger Brand says even the 30 billion divided by 15 million makes it a 2,000 yearly average. Yes, so I think it was 65. What was the amount? 115 billion divided by 65 million people. So if direct selling globally brings in 115 billion, do I have this right? Divided by 65 million, $1,769 per person, or $147 a month on average before expenses. So not exactly something to write home about. Can they turn the music up? I can almost hear them speaking. This is La La Land 10X, true. Integrity, trust, and fun, so true. Nightmare blunt rotation. Early 2000s HR video, yeah. This shit sucks. I can't name anything else in the world with less integrity, says Brandon. You can just about guarantee all the people that do direct selling for a living probably live with a significant other that is the breadwinner in the family. I mean, look no further than Boss Babes. They'll talk about how they're such successful businesswomen, and then you'll actually ask them about the nitty-gritty of it, and they'll be like, my husband is a rock star. Oh my God. Anybody who's being called a rock star, you've immediately negated your validity in my mind just as a human being. You know, fuck you. As a matter of fact, fuck you if you refer to yourself as a rock star in any regard. Marketing, or like Fraser Brooks, he's an MLM guy. I've done a stream about him before. He calls himself the network marketing ninja. Shut up, Fraser Brooks. You are a dork. You are an absolute dork. Sometimes people buy, sometimes they don't, right? Who wrote this? Getting items in one day is haram. Let's see. Yes, they never talk about the product. It's always about the recruitment. I actually posted an Instagram story today of a guy in WFG. If you're not following my Instagram, you missed that saga. Actually, you can still go look at it. It's still up there. I just did it this morning. But he has videos. He's just talking about, oh, you don't need experience. And then the video I shared on my story, he's like, oh yeah, we've taken trips. We've gone here. We've gone there. It doesn't say shit about the business. It's all about the opportunity. Not about what they actually do. Let's see. Jeff Miller, what up? Appreciate you, Jeff. Mindful with Marty, what up? So true, Pickle. Gotta hustle. Jeff says, Marco, you're a rock star. Thank you. Actually, I love the song Rockstar by Nickelback. I was supposed to do it at my friend's karaoke birthday thing last week, but I guess the room we rented was there wasn't enough time left. The time limit had run out, and they were trying to rush us out of there because they had another group that booked it. It was some Korean place, some Korean restaurant in Edmonton called Soju, Soju. It's like a Korean restaurant and karaoke place. So it felt really weird to even be outside in Edmonton, to be honest. But yeah. So let's look at Dave Grimaldi. I have 2 videos for you to choose from. As a matter of fact, I think I've already made my choice for you. One of them is an interview with Richard Bliss Brooks, aka Super MLM Man. Some of my longer time followers remember that stream about 2 years ago. This is the guy who asks the little girl. He's dressed up in like a sort of Superman costume, and he goes to a little girl, and he's asking her, "What do you think about multi-level marketing?" So funny. I still have that stream downloaded, and I've been meaning to cut it down into a shorter video, but I'm just so like drowned in edit material that I need to edit. So he has a video where he's interviewing Dave Grimaldi. This was uploaded 5 months ago. Guys, brace yourselves. This has 131 views. The CEO of this supposedly massive industry and this longtime OG of the industry with 7,000 subscribers, they got 131 views. You know, this would be like if I interviewed, I don't know, Ralph Nader or Norman Finkelstein or, Robert Fitzpatrick or, I don't know, who's a big advocate? James O'Keefe. Who's the other guy I'm thinking of? Harry Markopolis, the guy who got Bernie Madoff. That would be like if I interviewed one of them and it just flopped. YEG Exotic, nothing greasy. You might be able to give Vanilla Coke Zero. Appreciate that, Jeff Miller. Are you in Edmonton? All right. Say I meet a guy. Ask him what he does for work. Yeah, Patrick with David's description. Let's check this out.
For decades, direct selling has existed in a strange tension, an industry built on trust, and yet constantly questioned.
The propaganda, I love the propaganda just coming at me. It's built on trust, yet people constantly question it.
Tell us a little bit about where you came from, what did you do in the whole crypto fight, and how did you find your way to direct selling?
Home is Washington, D.C. So not only am I a creature of politics and a creature of D.C., I'm a native. The collapse of FTX was a gigantic moment in an industry in which I held a leadership role. Surviving that and then thriving after it is something that has very many parallels.
This guy is such a fucking storyteller. Let me just Google Dave Grimaldi FTX. Let me find out that he was involved in FTX. I mean, the fact that he's even calling that an industry too is kind of crazy, no? I'm bringing all the skills and abilities from my previous experience to this role. It's very similar. Weathered an enormous market crisis with FTX, and I want to bring everything I learned to this industry to create long-term sustainability. I mean, he's just yapping. This is a guy who's defending an industry that allowed something like an FTX to happen, and then now he's going to multi-level marketing. It's really amazing that you could make a career out of this type of, chicanery.
To kind of the turbulence that's going on in the channel right now, but it really gave
the channel. That also annoys me so fucking much when they call it the channel. Fuck you.
Gave me my strategic member services and mobilization stripes.
Dave Grimaldi didn't grow up in this space. He came from the other side. Congress, the FCC, leading government affairs for the tech world. He knows how decisions get made, how reputations get formed, and how policy gets written, often by people with only half the story.
What do you see as the challenges right now, and how are you navigating them, and then what do you see on the other side?
Even though we have a unified pro-entrepreneurial, pro-capitalism, pro-American grit regime in place, when the other side takes...
I mean, do I even need to say that it's the opposite of those things? Pro-entrepreneurial? No, it's not. Pro-capitalism? I think you can argue that as well, because this is not true merit-based capitalism, multi-level marketing. It's as I've described before, crony capitalism. Unfortunately, let me turn on my Test, test, test. Test, test, test. Turn this on here. Testing, testing. Y'all can still hear me, right? Okay, good. And then we're going to change the output device here. I just don't want there to be anything leaking into the whatchamacallit, microphone leaking back in or whatever. USB advanced audio device. Oh, sorry, I plugged it into the computer. I got to plug it into this. Test. There we go. There we go. There we go. He did it. He's learning. He learned how to use it.
Pro-capitalism, pro-American grit regime in place. When the other side takes over again, they are already building an agenda to snap back. And one of the things that they're going to snap back on, I think,
why is it so dramatic? Why is the music so dramatic?
Is the ability of all of our friends and companies in the channel to recruit their sales forces and explain business opportunities the way that they want.
This is true, BA. I do have Tourette's, but it's just PBD-isms. This is a guy who...
As CEO of the Direct Selling Association.
Specs, this is not even a guy from Fiverr doing the voiceover. A guy from Fiverr would have had a better setup. This is Richard Bliss Brooks' nephew sending him a voice memo he recorded into his iPhone. You can even hear, behind the music, you can even hear like the ambience of the room he's in.
Dave's not just managing strategy. He's rebuilding the bridge between our industry and the people who regulate it. He's challenging how we're seen and pushing us to own how we show up.
What is the story we need to tell before somebody else tells a story for us?
Looks like he's pooping his pants.
There are two things that a mentor of mine named Robert Raven told me years ago that lead to success. Personality.
Robert Raven, a Marvel character.
And performance. The direct selling channel is the greatest combination of both of those. And it's
personality and performance. Right.
By just sheer willpower.
Richard Blissbrook here with live. You sit here today, it's on your stream.
Jesus Christ. The Authentic Networker. Here we go.
Hey, everybody. Thanks for joining me for the Authentic Networker podcast. I have...
two wax figures come to life.
A very, very special guest here today from Washington, D.C. like where all the world circulates. And right down there on probably close to K Street or on K Street. Dave Grimaldi, right there is K Street. Dave Grimaldi, the new chairman of the Direct Selling Association, the most important organization in our entire profession, brand new to direct selling. Dave, welcome.
Yes, it's Super MLM, man.
Richard,
thanks for joining us.
What an honor, man. This is the highlight of the week, month, all of it. It's so fun to be with you.
Well, it is fun to have you in direct selling, and so fun to have your leadership and energy guiding the future of direct selling. I heard about your new role a few months ago and looked forward to meeting you. And we met in Dallas a month or so ago and listened to you speak. And I was really energized by your vision and your energy. And
normal people don't talk like this. Let's just be very clear. Excited. I was invigorated by I was energized by your vision. It's like, you only say this when there's a camera on and you're trying to like blow smoke up somebody's ass.
And your background, you're so perfectly suited for this fight. And so I'm just excited to, have my audience find out, who are you?
I like how he talks about it he refers to it as a fight, like preemptively. Like Dave Grimaldi at the point of this, at the time of this recording, he's relatively new to the position of CEO of the Direct Selling Association, right? Why are they primed to think it's a fight? If what you're doing is just a normal, legitimate business, why is it a fight? But you realize almost the entire existence of the Direct Selling Association revolves around fighting regulation, minimizing their harm, spin, PR spin, the corporatization of, let me be careful. Trying to relabel and spin things to be other than what they are in reality. This was me glazing you on the one-on-one. That's so funny.
The people that are listening to this are, they're company owners, they're executives, they're sales leaders all over the world that are in the fight to legitimize direct selling. And
interesting. We're in the fight to legitimize direct selling. Legitimize what? Aren't you legitimate? What are we legitimizing? If you're legitimate, we needn't legitimize, right? Isn't this an industry, a channel that's been around for like almost 100 years? Make it make sense to me.
Network marketing, and to do it right so that we have that credibility and that influence, and we can be successful. And you know, we have an unfair advantage. Everybody else can talk about whatever they want to talk about, but we can't say much of anything about anything. But still, you know, we got to go out there and recruit people and sell our products. So we are all looking forward to you paving the way. Like all of you, audience, if you caught in Dave's introduction, he's been recently leading big fights in crypto. And so it's perfectly suited, right, for what we're doing in direct selling. And so, Dave, I thought I'd start there. Tell us a little bit about, you know, where you came from and what did you do in the whole crypto fight?
Such a great guy, Dave Grimaldi, advocating for crypto, which many people, James Jani has a great video essay about crypto and how he's essentially presenting the arguments for why perhaps, potentially, allegedly, crypto might be just a Ponzi scheme. It's not a physical thing. There's no inherent value, etc., etc. And Dave has gone from championing that to now championing multi-level marketing, which if you've seen one of my videos, you know that there are at the very least issues with that.
And how did you find your way to direct selling?
Oh, I mean, it's such a fun journey, and it's such a fortuitous, serendipitous, but also kind of accidental journey.
Does he have the mic on and the mic is picking up what Richard Bliss Brooks is saying and it's going directly into a ChatGPT text box and then spitting out the answer for Dave? Or are these two people just that fucking disingenuous? Have you ever seen a more disingenuous conversation? The last time I saw a conversation that I even suspected of being this disingenuous was when I saw a clip. It was like a red carpet clip where Pharrell, Bradley Cooper, and another guy were on the red carpet. Let me see if I can find it. And it's just the most empty nothingness platitudes. Let me see if I can find it. Even the top comment when I saw this on Instagram or TikTok was like, has there ever been a more disingenuous conversation? I can't find it. But anyways, let me go back to this.
And home is Washington, D.C. So not only am I a creature of politics and a creature of D.C., I'm a native. I'm a homegrown guy who grew up in the middle of the city of Washington, not a suburb.
Wow.
And I love it here. All 4 seasons. It's a beautiful place, center of the world. And after a career in senior roles in government positions, I came to the other side of it all, to the advocacy and the lobbying and the messaging and the communication side, and I'm a lawyer also. And
there's a great movie called Thank You for Smoking, where the main character, Nick Naylor, played by Aaron Eckhart, who played Two-Face in The Dark Knight, is a lobbyist for big tobacco, okay? And we really should do a Discord movie night watching it, where you realize how calculated he is. His whole existence really is about putting on, running cover and putting on spin for tobacco, which obviously is not a good, contribution to the world. Let's be honest. If cigarettes were invented today, or if alcohol was invented today, I don't think it would be legal. If I go into my bathroom and I whip up a bunch of chemicals and put it in a bottle and it's proven scientifically to only be bad for people and only have negative consequences, I don't think it would be legal if I invented it today. So really, what is lobbying? Lobbying is advocating on behalf of something, right? And of course, if the thing that you're lobbying for is bad, you have to do work to make it appear good.
Found my way through a number of positions at associations and with a publicly traded company doing their advocacy and their messaging. Found myself at the Blockchain Association very early on when, as we call it, BA, the Blockchain Association. BA was probably 30 or so companies. It's now about 120 or so. But one of the reasons I think that the TSA leadership and its board and its executive committee came looking for me was I navigated it through interesting times and with interesting characters and companies with a mission of.
Now I see. You came from representing and lobbying on behalf of crypto, right? Blockchain, crypto, which many people have, I think, effectively argued is similar to a Ponzi scheme. And now you've been recruited by the Direct Selling Association, which lobbies on behalf of and represents multi-level marketing companies, which I think also many people have effectively compared to pyramid schemes or Ponzi schemes. So I'm seeing a bit of a pattern here, Dave.
Let humanity and Americans transact online, be it crypto, NFTs, stablecoins, no matter what it is, freely without undue or burdensome government intervention.
This old fucking guy, Richard Bliss Brooks, has no idea what any of those are.
Yeah.
Obviously, the collapse of FTX was a gigantic moment, negative moment in an industry in which I held a leadership role. Surviving that and then thriving after it, which is where crypto and blockchain is now, I think is something that has very many parallels to kind of the turbulence that's going on in the channel right now. But
who in the chat is doing really well with their crypto right now? Who amongst you that got onto the crypto train during COVID is actually, you know, thriving now because of your crypto or NFT investments? Where's Michael K in the chat when you need him? You know, it was a big negative moment and I held the leadership role in that industry. Okay. So every time an MLM gets shut down or a DSA member gets fined or sanctioned or whatever, or shut down or investigated for being a pyramid scheme, that's, you know, is that a similar thing? Is that a similar big negative moment that you need to, you know, brave the choppy waters of?
But it really gave me my strategic and crisis comms and, you know, member services and mobilization stripes through being at Blockchain Association. It was a whole lot of fun. It still is kind of a nascent industry that could be the future of global finance.
Right.
Okay.
So, but adoption and usage is going up, 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 and up. And there are some very deep similarities and some contrasts from the channel to crypto. One of the big contrasts is crypto is largely peer-to-peer networks, and more often than not, you don't know, or almost exclusively, you don't know who's on the other side of a transaction with you. And that's the beauty of crypto. It's peer-to-peer, and I don't want to know from whom I'm buying Ethereum or Bitcoin. That's part of it.
Okay, Zero and Dr. Rapp did good on crypto. Congrats.
The channel is the epitome of interpersonal, meaningful face-to-face connections.
Such fucking horse shit.
I say multiple times a day, you cannot replace face-to-face.
You can. We have.
It's why I love being part of this community right now. The parallels are there is a libertarian strain in both. Mm-hmm. With the channel,
LOL Zero, you actually didn't make any money. Okay.
I want to be able to build my sales force, build my downlines, recruit people and tell them what the awesome power of direct selling can mean to them, how it can supplement their income, how it can introduce them to new friends, give them managerial skills, give them entrepreneurial skills. Very much the same, obviously, in blockchain and crypto. We want to be able to transact freely. We don't want a centralized entity or bank or federal kind of overhang telling us what to do and how to do it. It's global and it's free and it's open. Obviously, though, and we can get into this, bad actors are everywhere. You want to make sure that you are keeping them out, keeping them regulated, making sure that there are standards and best practices. Similar in both of these things that we're talking about, in where I was in crypto, where I am now in direct selling.
Well, the true similarity between those, Dave, is not that, I mean, this is just my opinion. It's not that there are bad apples. It's that the actual thing itself, the actual supposed channel or industry itself, is based on a fraud, a mathematical impossibility touted as a legitimate business or industry and opportunity for, independent entrepreneurs, direct sellers, as you call them. It's just not true. It's been proven not true time and again. If it was true, Truth in Advertising wouldn't have had the capability to find that 98% of the Direct Selling Association's member companies made deceptive earnings claims. And even then, I'm sure they would say, oh, well, those are just bad actors. These MLMs, they have thousands and thousands of people. Some of them don't follow the rules, blah, 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 blah. But it's just shown time and time and again to not be the case. And like I said, I think there's very valid arguments to be made about the validity of crypto. Who is it actually helping? How is it not a Ponzi scheme? Multi-level marketing. I think, I've made countless videos explaining this already.
Yeah. So, what do you see? What do you see for our future? And you've only been involved like 2 or 3 months, but you probably see some immediate challenges. And let's focus on that. What do you see as the challenges right now? And how are you navigating them? And then what do you see on the other side?
Well, right now in Washington, we are in a unified party governance ecosystem right
now. How many buzzwords can you put in one sentence?
Now, with Republicans controlling all of Congress, so both the Senate and the House of Representatives, and they control the White House with Donald Trump in the White House. That doesn't happen very often, and they are, as I think anyone who's read a single headline knows, they are a very free and open market team, from the Speaker of the House to the Majority Leader of the Senate to the President, breaking down barriers to American business, letting capitalism thrive, on and on. As I've said many times, I don't know if anyone in the history of elected office knows about selling and sales more than this president. He's proven himself to be that, no matter what the product is. He's selling it and he's talking about it, and it's a hell of a thing to watch. So a long way of saying that right now, had Kamala Harris won, there would be much more scrutiny and consumer protection looming over the channel. Democrats are the party of...
Notice he says, let's just listen to that again. There would have been much more scrutiny and consumer protection looming over the channel. Why would consumer protection be an obstacle for you if what you're doing isn't harming consumers? Protecting is the opposite of harming. So why would you be averse to consumer protection?
Democrats are the party of consumer protection, looking out for the little guy, making sure that predatory practices are either not present at all or are being eradicated. Had Kamala Harris won, it would be a different reality now. She would have had a chairman or chairwoman of the Federal Trade Commission and other regulatory entities looking very closely at industries like ours, industries like crypto, the payments industry, the loan industry, all of it. Because we have this administration in place now, that scrutiny is not as harsh or oppressive is the wrong word, but just as in your face. But Richard, as I know, after a lifetime in this city, in Washington, through presidential administrations, if you have a pendulum that swings back and forth, it used to swing, Democrat, Republican president, it used to swing a little bit like this, right? George H.W. Bush to Bill Clinton, to George W. Bush, to Barack Obama, etc. Well, the way the climate is now, that pendulum is swinging like this.
Yeah.
And when a new White House comes in, not only do they want to put their mandate forward, they want to erase what has been done before them.
Through executive orders.
In past administrations, that was done around the edges.
Right.
Now it is get rid of everyone, overturn their policies and their regulations and go real hard the other way. And that's not just a Trump thing.
Right.
If Democrat wins in 4 years, they're going to do the same thing. And it's kind of the way it is now, for better or worse. I think it's for worse, because this used to be a town where people got along and built off of each other and built off the positive things. A lot of it now is just...
Brandon C. just dropped a bag 20 Canadian dollars. Losing Fortune radios is easier to listen to than these two. Holy Yapaholics mixtape.
So true. Yapaholics mixtape. So true. Thank you, by the way, Brandon. Thank you. Appreciate you. Thank you so much. Julie Anderson says, Grimaldi oozes the most used car salesman vibe ever. My God, what an insecure, repugnant douchebag. He's really thinking he's some relevant political pundit. Yeah, the fact that he's like trying to be so careful with his words too. I mean, I said it best. Me quoting me. I said it best in this video I dropped yesterday featuring Dave Grimaldi. I said, the truth is usually very simple. What gets complicated is evading the truth. Bars. Bars were spoken that day, ladies and gentlemen. Because why do you need to be so calculated and like weird about it if there's nothing wrong?
Burn down the village and start over. Because of that, even though we have a unified pro-entrepreneurial, pro-capitalism, right, pro-American grit regime in place, when the other side takes over again, they are already building an agenda to snap back. And one of the things that they're going to snap back on, I think, is the ability of all of our friends and companies in the channel to recruit their sales forces and explain business opportunities the way that they want. Because many in the Democratic Party have a very, very, very big magnifying glass over exactly what is said in that recruitment. And so cultivating during peacetime, cultivating, explaining, and educating is the order of the day. That's what we do every day here.
As opposed to taking advantage of the environment and getting out of hand. So in the next 3 or 4 years, we're in the habit of being reckless and taking advantage of the environment. And so then if it turns back in 3 or 4 years, we're out of bounds, right? So we have to, I mean, I think one approach is we can take advantage of this environment and go crazy, but then in 3 years, our habits are going to come back to bite us. And so moderation might be the call of the day, as opposed to let's go nuts because we got a good environment.
I couldn't have said it better. The way that right now I worked for a legendary African-American congressman from South Carolina, a guy named Jim Clyburn.
Yeah.
Not a bomb thrower. Civil rights icon, not a bomb thrower. And I learned how to reason with other people and how to see their side of the argument, validate the passion behind what they're saying. I am right now going in to, well, and I'll tell you this right.
I learned how to manipulate people. You know, this is a guy who, just in that video I put out the other day, yesterday, called Big Pyramid is Desperate, Dave Grimaldi is in there condescending to the politician introducing this bill, HB 162, which would impose more regulations on MLMs. And he says to her, for example, one of the things we disagree with is the mandatory disclosure around how many people make money or what percentage of people make money. And he gives the weakest example. He says, I swear ChatGPT must have wrote it. He says, a company where there's 10 people and only one of them is earning money would show that only 10% of people earned anything. And that's not deception. That's early stage growth. Fuck you, Dave Grimaldi. In what, who told you that was a good bar to say? That sucked. Boo. That was really bad, Dave. I mean, surely you could do better than that. But that's what I mean. It's just such an indefensible thing that he's defending that you end up just saying nonsense like that with a straight face while the rest of the world is looking at you going, how do you even, you're a piece of shit. You're a bullshitter, It's not deception. It's early stage growth. Dave, you're out completely in another galaxy. You're in Unicorn La La Land with your It was a complete nothing burger. But yeah, you're in Unicorn La La Land with your example there. What MLM company only has 10 people? You know, you're just full of it. You're completely full of it.
Richard, there are over 60 Congressional Black Caucus elected officials in the House of Representatives. There are well over 50 Hispanic members of the House of Representatives. The total number of congressmen in the House is 435. Well over 100 are Hispanic or African American. They also make up a massive amount of the sales force in the channel.
Right.
I see. He's trying to draw a comparison between him pushing MLMs and trying to advocate on behalf of MLMs and him being like some civil rights advocate. This is the same thing Patrick Bet-David does. You know, one of the segments from Patrick Bet-David's DJ Vlad interview, which we didn't get to that point, but Patrick Bet-David, you know, DJ Vlad, all these interviews, they cut clips from their interviews. And there's one clip from their conversation where Patrick Bet-David says, I mean, this is the title of the video, "I built my insurance empire by hiring young Latina girls." Let's just see what some of the comments on this say. I'm quite curious. PHP stands for People Helping Patrick. Get it right, Vlad. PBD stormed in the boardroom one day, breathless, and said, "I got it. Big booty Latinas." Obviously, they're joking here. A real self-made man disclosing what he does. No, dislike that. I love how Patrick said we have 45,000 agents. He never said they were licensed. Pat about to get me too'd. Body language telling me this guy isn't exactly proud of what his business was. Well, you need to be squirrely when you're a scammer. Pay attention to the first half of the video, and then when he starts explaining his insurance company, he keeps adjusting his suit. It's all legal, but Patrick knows deep down it isn't honest. Oh, Seven Sages, aren't you here in my chat right now? He claims he has 45K sales agents, but 66% make less than $250 a year. 95% make less than a minimum wage worker. There you go. Pretty weird way. This person says pretty weird way to describe running a literal pyramid scheme. Of course, people are arguing. Sounds like Herbalife to me. PBD, my favorite con man. Gift of the silver tongue. Talks circles around a fox and makes a fox think he's the lion. You know? Wow.
Members of the sales force in the channel. I am now going in and talking to those offices and making sure they know that their constituents are part of our community.
Hey, Black Caucus and Hispanic Caucus leaders, let your black and brown constituents know that I'm a good guy and this is a good thing. They definitely won't lose money. They definitely won't be scammed. I mean, dude, this guy just sucks. You know, fuck you, Dave Grimaldi. Fuck you, Dave Grimaldi. And it's not defamatory to say fuck you. What up, Sherry R? YouTube featured your live. Appreciate it.
And the fastest growing. The Latino market is the fastest growing part of our market in the United States.
And most of the folks up here on Capitol Hill don't know that. These are their constituents. These are their voters. These are their neighbors. And talking about that is fun and easy and exciting. And they love learning about it. And oftentimes they will say, oh my gosh, my neighbor from 2 houses down came by and sold X product. And okay, I'm so glad you came in. If you do a fly-in, bring them by the office. So DSA is for sure doing that. That's a given every year. But it's just reminding them who we are and the economic and American kind of grit behind it. And it's
American grit behind telling people, just recruit 5 people who recruit 5 people and use this essential oil that's going to cure cancer or whatever example they say. Wow.
It's enjoyable, and I'm loving it.
Yeah, you're the right man for the job. I love your spirit. You're flying all over the country and being a tremendous for the free enterprise.
Just being a tremendous liar.
The word you used earlier was
saying the quiet part out loud. Exactly.
Grit. And that just really speaks to who we are as network marketers. We're all about casting the vision of what's possible and going for it.
Casting the vision.
And unfortunately, the people that, want to claw us back into the bucket, they're just not all about that kind of stuff. And then at the same time,
they want to what? Claw us back into the bucket? Oh, yeah. He's saying like it's a crab bucket mentality. Like they're losers. Okay.
It's not all about that kind of stuff. And
They're not about this life. They're not built like that.
Then at the same time, to the degree you want to, cast a vision and encourage somebody to go for it, that can end up being reckless. And we, of course, get branded for being reckless. And oftentimes that's true. Oftentimes we are irresponsible and reckless. And so moderation, we gotta go for moderation. And
this is the guy who, if you remember from my stream when I talked about Richard Bliss Brooks, where he's like, be compliant, when he's asking a woman who's part of an MLM that sells essential oils, he's asking her, and what does this oil do? And she's like, and she's about to make some medical claim, and he goes, be compliant, and then he helps her out, he bails her out, he goes, it improves your mood. Because obviously, you can say something improves your mood, that's not a medical claim. Seeing a beautiful flower might improve my mood. Hearing a nice song might improve my mood. It's a nothing burger,
I think you just have a wonderful head on your shoulders, and plus you have great courage and wonderful with people, and you're so connected. This is going to be a great run for the Direct Selling Association, and I'm encouraged that everybody get behind the Direct Selling Association. So what do you need there? What do you need from the profession, the owners, the executives, even the sales force? What do you need? How can we help you?
The saddest part of all of this is not the empty platitudes and buzzwords and saying the quiet part out loud and self-snitching and, PR spin and deception. The real sad part about this is Dave Grimaldi will probably never see the inside of a jail cell. That's the sad part.
It's many things. Data, use cases, storytellers.
Yeah, you've checked that box for sure, Dave. You're for sure a storyteller. That much is true. That much is evident.
Emissaries, all of that is always helpful. That actually speaks truth to power for what we stand for and what we do. And
speaking truth to power, says the guy who represents an industry or a channel that is notorious for being litigious and trying to sue people for things like defamation to silence and intimidate them, to stop exposing what they really do. Speaking truth to power. Hey, more power to you, my civil rights activist king who is in good with the Black and Hispanic caucuses. We love it. Our hero, our white savior.
Richard, I sold ACN in college.
I sold ACN in college.
Power for what we stand for and what we do. And Richard, I sold ACN in college, so I actually I can talk the talk.
Right.
I can walk the walk because I did it in college.
Oh, I thought you reminded me of somebody. Nathan Goldberg from my ACN video. Is that you? An overconfident shyster?
In my dorm rooms at Loyola Marymount University in Los Angeles, I sold ACN wireline service in my dorm. And I remember the satisfaction and the confidence that came from doing that. And
how about money, Dave? Did money come from that?
And I was out in LA, having come from DC, knew no one, scary, intimidating, beautiful at the same time, but I, needed to help finance my way through college. And ACN did that. So I could talk about this. That's hugely helpful. And then it's coming to DC and it's participating in everything that we do, and we're doing a lot. And I also...
So this guy said he's a lawyer, and he sold ACN to help finance his way through college. Make it make sense. So you sold ACN to help you get through law school? I have a sneaking suspicion that that's bullshit, like everything else he's been saying so far. And, I mean, he says he grew up right in the heart of D.C. I'm curious to know who Dave Grimaldi's parents are or were.
Wherever we have a manufacturing facility in the U.S., whatever congressman represents that district, they need to go see it. And as you said earlier, I am trying...
Interesting, Queen of Karma. I don't really get into the body language deconstructions. I mean, the dead eyes is certainly a thing. But Queen of Karma says his body language is so interesting. Watch how he shakes his head no whenever he makes a promise or positive claim about himself. Yeah, that's interesting. I don't know if there's actually any truth to the psychology behind that people, physically signal when they're telling a lie by, like, doing the opposite motion. Like, they'll say, like... But I do notice that, like when people are like, he's such a great guy. They'll do like that, right? But these guys also nod a ton as well when it's bullshit. So
to be in the field and looking in the eyes of our consultants and our salespeople in our field as much as I can, I loved every minute of being in Wisconsin at the Regal Wear factory and walking the factory floor with a hard hat on, with my immigrant Italian grandparents coming.
Him walking the floor of that warehouse with a hard hat on was the closest he's ever got to manual labor in his life. I'm guessing. My opinion.
From Italy and working in factories in Pennsylvania, there was a personal awesomeness to that, but also
Bro's Black Caucus thing is basically I have a black friend, yeah.
Made in the USA and sold by American citizens and being done so just on their own vigor and their own drive. And seeing that was amazing. And the same in Tulsa, Oklahoma.
Doing it by their own vigor. His Black Caucus friend from the other room was like, what did you say? So stupid.
Where I was 2 weeks ago at the Senegens seminar and seeing 500 plus just wildly excited women, the Sena sisters of Senegens, talking about how that was their favorite weekend of the year. When they
spend the last of their, when they're already out of money and they spend the last of their credit card balance allotment to go stay 3 people in one fucking one-bed hotel room, 5 people in one hotel room to go to this convention and hear all the mindless motivational babble shouted by John Smith from the stage or Jane Smith. It was their favorite weekend of the year, Dave. We know that.
Joni Rogers Conte, who has built this unbelievable company from the ground up in Oklahoma, and how they have made lifelong friendships with all of these women there wearing their royal blue and I had on my blue, and the energy and the power in the room, and listening about how to be DSA certified and how to do makeup shade matching and lip gloss shade matching. And yes, Richard, I sat in every one of those on the edge of my seat. I've never been more interested in anything. And just to be there and to look around, and don't get me wrong, I drank all the Kool-Aid and fell madly in love.
In my Unicity video, I talk about how the term drinking the Kool-Aid originates from the Jonestown cult, Jim Jones cult, the People's Temple. And, you know, those people drank Flavor Aid laced with cyanide and they killed themselves in a mass group suicide. That's what the term, because they were all in a religious cult, a doomsday cult. And that's where the term drinking the Kool-Aid comes from. And how fitting that Dave Grimaldi is saying it here. Yeah, that is a drop. That is a fucking drop.
Don't get me wrong, I drank all the Kool-Aid and fell madly in love.
Yeah, we need to clip that. Let me record that as a clip real quick. Let me go back. Start recording. Here we go.
Don't get me wrong, I drank all the Kool-Aid and fell madly in love with crypto and blockchain and digital asset technology.
Got it. Oh, it's not just about the Senegens convention. You drank the Kool-Aid about crypto as well. Good to know. Good to know we have a smart, educated lawyer who's drinking the Kool-Aid. We'd love to see that.
And there were some very rabid people in crypto, and I became one of them. But sitting in a room when you can touch and feel a product is a horse of a different color.
Jesus Christ, the babble.
And
God forbid I actually go get my law degree and I become a lawyer one day. You know, I'm sure the goons would be supportive if I dropped a video saying, hey, look, goons, I'm trying to fund law school. Can y'all support me? If I went and became a lawyer, even if I never practiced, even if I just went and got the education, I feel like I'd be an absolute assassin of a lawyer.
And I loved it. I am deeply and naturally curious about people no matter who they are. And as you know, we've got some real characters in the channel, and spending time with them is a total rush. It's totally me. And I loved it, and I'm keeping in touch with all of them for years to come.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah, there's definitely characters. There's also similar characters, you know, where in jail, in prison. By characters, you mean crooks, scammers, criminals.
I love that. So I got to tell you a little story. Last week, they let me register and participate, and they let me ask questions. Even I've done it every year for the last 3 or 4 years. I participate in the, I don't know what they call themselves, but they're basically, it's the annual convention of the Network Marketers Haters Association.
Oh, is he going to talk about me? I didn't even realize. Are they going to talk about Bill Keep's MLM conference, the anti-MLM conference? Ooh. But no, they said they let him speak at it. Isn't that what they said?
Convention of the Network Questions, even?
They let him participate and ask questions. Okay. This has to be it.
Association. It's, you know, these authors and consumer advocates and professors.
It is. Is he going to talk about me?
All the expert witnesses, you know, William Keep.
Okay, shit. I didn't even dude, I'm reacting to this blind. I didn't even realize Bill Keep's going to get a name drop. Holy shit.
And company.
Oh, the anti-MLM conference that was here in DC.
The anti-MLM conference that was here in DC. Okay, let's hear it, Dave. Watch, they're going to try to laugh and play it off like they're not affected by it at all. Ooh.
Yes, I'm on there for 2 days. It's 3 o'clock in the morning, my time.
Yep.
And, you know, it's speaker.
Take a drink, Dave.
After speaker after speaker. And I couldn't help myself. I just had to comment.
Okay, I wasn't on this one. If they're talking about the one from the most recent year.
On the Zoom, I said, you know, this might go over a little bit better if you guys weren't so hypocritical to use inflammatory bias language in your presentations, the same kind of stuff you accuse us for.
Appeal to hypocrisy, number one. And also, actually scratch that. It's not even an appeal to hypocrisy because we're not being hypocritical. If we're calling out what you actually do and we're being honest about it and you're just labeling that as being inflammatory, it's you who's being hypocritical. It's you who's being hypocritical when you talk about the channel, network marketing, the legitimacy of it. It's you who's being deceptive at every single level of this. So, of course, to a liar, somebody telling the truth appears hypocritical.
Because all of their presentations were completely inflammatory. And, you know, one lady said, I mean, she's supposed to be like an authority and she's doing a PowerPoint. And she said, all MLMs are cults.
Yeah, they are. It's not like, think about it, the whole basis of what he's saying isn't challenging whether that's true. He's just saying it hurt my feelings. So it's a hypocritical and it's bad. All MLMs are cults. Well, why don't we engage with the argument and see if that's the case? No, he just says it's inflammatory.
I'm like, really?
Mind you, this is coming only moments after Dave Grimaldi himself, unprovoked, said, I drank the Kool-Aid of crypto. And now they're giggling and acting like it's so haha when the claim of, oh, every MLM is a cult is brought up. Oh, it's so ridiculous. These anti-MLM people, they're just completely out to lunch. What's Dave going to say now? Oh, those people are haters. They're bitter. They tried and failed. They hate us, blah, 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 blah.
Yes.
And then, you know, another one said, you know, every network marketing company is subject to the 70% rule and the 10 customer rule. And I'm like, really? Because I think only Amway in 1979 is subject to that rule. These people misrepresented.
He's also being disingenuous there. The Amway rules from 1979 are often invoked by MLM companies when they try to defend themselves against the accusation that they're a pyramid scheme. See the case of FTC versus Neora, where they sort of set a precedent. It's sort of become a loophole, the 1979 Amway decision, which if that was unwound, it would be lights out for basically every MLM company, certainly the ones that are members of the DSA. But yeah, this is just nonsense. It's just disingenuous, I suspect, considering Richard's age and his experience in this channel. But yeah, other MLMs tried to invoke the Amway precedent to defend themselves. They are so desperate. It's true, Julie.
Lied.
Serial killers episode. Call the jurors who convicted them haters. Yeah.
Exaggerated.
Wait, who lied?
People misrepresented.
Again, you have to call the thing you're doing the opposite of what it is. Every accusation is a convention. A confession. Every accusation is a confession. What's he saying about the people at the MLM conference? They misrepresented and they lied. and they used inflammatory language. That's what y'all do. All you do is misrepresent. All you do is lie. It's documented. The FTC acknowledges it. Truth in Advertising acknowledges it. Independent journalists like myself can go look up any company and acknowledge it and recognize it to be true. You have to accuse the opposition of what you are doing. You have to paint the thing you're doing as the opposite of what it is. So that's why they end up painting us as the scammers, the haters, the disingenuous, the misrepresenters, the liars.
Lied. Exaggerated.
Mind you, if we just go back a little while in this video, we're 23 minutes of the way through a 38-minute video. If we take away my interruptions, it would have been a much shorter time span between him saying this, A and B. Remember, only a few minutes ago in the timeline of this video, he admits a lot of times people do go wild, or whatever he said, when it comes to exaggerating and making misrepresentations and deceptive claims. So he even admitted, it's like you're putting your foot in your mouth. He even admitted in this same Zoom that they do it. And now he's saying, oh, the anti-MLM crowd, they're doing it. For a multi-billion-dollar industry, they're quite intimidated by such a small conference. Look at this face Dave Grimaldi's making. Screenshot that.
And we're just plain ignorant. And that's who we're up against. And what they hate the most about us, really, is the whole model of recruiting. And this is what I want to ask you about.
Here comes a false equivalence about how the military recruits and colleges recruit and Walmart recruits.
They're okay with people selling products. Yes. Now, they don't want us to, show people how to make a lot of money selling product, and they don't want us to champion people making a lot of money selling products. But what they really hate is the whole idea of recruiting people who might recruit, who might recruit, who might recruit, who might recruit, who might recruit. And of course, what I want to say is, well, there was a guy a couple thousand years ago that...
He's going to use the Jesus example, and he's going to say Christianity has been recruiting for 2,000 years, and they still haven't got everyone in. That's exactly what he's about to say. Watch.
Personally sponsored 12 people on his front line, and they've been having weekly meetings for 2,000 years, and they still don't have everybody.
This is the type of absolute retardation that being involved in a cult that is so mentally overwhelming and so such a nefarious force that it can mentally hijack you. This is an example of what can become of somebody. An old man who is so void of critical thinking that he still thinks this is like a bar. This false equivalence saying Jesus Christ has been recruiting for 2,000 years, and he had 12 recruits, and they've been doing weekly meetings for 2,000 years, and it's just... And also, isn't it the most classic cult behavior to compare yourself to Jesus Christ when you're being persecuted? Isn't that just Again, we talked about Jim Jones with his whole drinking the Kool-Aid thing. Wasn't one of Jim Jones's claims that he was like the second coming? Think of how many cults you've heard of in your life, religious cults, that got people in because they told their followers that they were the second coming of Christ. What's the name of the logical fallacy where, example, I know I can think of an example of it, I can't remember the name of it, where somebody says like, is it a red herring? Somebody remind me, what's the name of the logical fallacy where I'll say, hey, can I come with you to the thing? And they'll say, no, actually, because I have to do X, Y, and Z. And then I respond by being like, well, so you hate me then. What's the name of that logical fallacy where instead of actually hearing them out and engaging with what their reasoning is, isn't it just called jumping to conclusions or a hasty generalization? Remind me what it is. It might just be as simple as jumping to conclusions. But yeah, can I come with you to the store? No, sorry, because I don't have room in the car. And then I say, oh, so you hate me. It's just amazing. I can't wait to see what Dave Grimaldi says.
But I'm sure we need to worry about everybody getting...
Is it a straw man? Okay, it is a straw man then. Yeah, you're changing one. Okay, yeah, it is a straw man because you're taking the thing that they're actually upset about and saying, oh, well, it must be this other thing. Thank you.
They just hate the whole recruiting thing. And one lady said, you know, the last thing I'm going to do is get recruiting and network marketing outlawed. And of course, that defines the network marketing part of the direct selling model, which not every company is, but most are today. What is your feeling about that? Like, I guess what I want to ask you is, how do we protect that?
Richard Bliss Brooks, you're genuinely retarded.
And how important is it that we protect it? Because, of course, if we don't, we're just selling a product out of a kiosk. We're not who we are.
It is, Richard, it's the guiding light, it's the oracle, it's the ability to be, and I'll start out by saying this.
Stuttering so hard trying to formulate some bullshit answer.
There's bad actors everywhere. And
bad apples.
And we had the biggest one in American history in crypto.
Oh, the other thing that you were recently advocating for. Gotcha.
Yep. And what we said after FTX collapsed was regarding Sam Bankman-Fried, its founder, let the justice system work. Let the justice system find those bad actors and bring them to accountability. But you can't use a dragnet, and you can't run around and accuse people of being, guilty before innocent.
Also a false equivalence, because crypto was genuinely a new thing. FTX was genuinely a new thing. Okay? It was hard to discern what was legit, what wasn't, for most people anyways. It was such a new thing that people didn't even really, to this day, most people don't understand what crypto is, in my experience. MLM is something where we have storied history. MLMs being prosecuted, MLMs being shut down, millions of victims, people telling their own stories about their experience with MLM, how they'd been scammed. Crypto, we're hearing about it now because it's only a few years later. But it's a complete false equivalence because we actually have decades and decades and decades of data, research, experience, anecdotes from people who are familiar with different multi-level marketing companies where we can make generalizations and say, okay, yeah, these companies do all, at least in my experience, I'll speak personally for myself, my own opinion, in every MLM company I've ever studied, I would say, yeah, they were all cults. The way people acted, the way people were so committed to something that was actually only negatively impacting them, but they felt for some reason that they were chosen to do this, that this is what they're meant to be doing, that anyone who didn't believe in it or didn't want to join was to be ostracized and slandered and smeared. Yeah, those are cult-like behaviors. In all of them that I've studied that have an income disclosure, you see a inflated, misrepresentative income disclosure that doesn't factor in expenses, that doesn't show the median, it just shows the average. So, they all have an endless chain. They all incentivize endless chain recruiting, which is inherently fraudulent. It's a scam. I would say all of them that I've studied are scams. And here comes Dave Grimaldi with his good old, well, not all defense.
And those presumptions. And you're talking about...
How do you sleep at night? How do you look in the mirror every day being such a duplicitous snake?
People jumping to conclusions and stereotyping, and it is wrong. And there are a whole bunch of good laws and regulations on the books.
Sure.
That have painted a line of things that you can't walk across and say. You can't lie and you can't misrepresent.
Well, then why do all of you guys do it? Virtually every MLM company that's in the DSA, which you, Dave Grimaldi, are a representative of, according to Truth in Advertising, you do that. And if the laws that are already on the books are so strong as you claim, then why do you need to be so worried about what you talked about earlier in this exact same video? Worried about more regulations being more in your face, worried about more consumer protection. Why would that be a worry to you?
And I haven't met a person in the channel that does do that. I've
Bullshit.
been at the conferences that you've mentioned, and I've met people who describe the business opportunity honestly and forthrightly.
Yeah, to describe it honestly is to deceive. To describe it honestly would mean that you're admitting to doing something that is, in my opinion, a scam.
and optimistically. And that is what free speech is. And what our guiding light here is in DC for DSA is to make sure that in the name of consumer protection.
See how he conflates issues to make himself the good guy? He's very clever about this, but if you listen carefully, you can actually spot it. You know, he tries to compare what he's doing here with crypto and with MLM, with his previous work for the African-American, what was it, a congressman or some politician? He tries to compare it by making it seem like, you know, he's doing some sort of social justice work or like advocacy work for disenfranchised people. You know, he talked about Mexicans and African Americans. And now here he's doing, and then they did the Jesus thing where they compared themselves to basically to Jesus because he was being persecuted, and trying to make the implication, in my opinion, that anyone who criticizes multi-level marketing is like those who would have persecuted Christ. And then now here what he's doing is
for DSA is to make sure that in the name of consumer protection and in the name of anti-predatory practices.
Now he's trying to do this thing where he raises himself up and touts, you know, him and the DSA as the people who are actually protecting people. It's our guiding light.
What free speech is.
Oh, no, sorry, yeah. And that was the other thing. And he's a champion of free speech. You know, now he's making it seem like he's a champion of free speech. So he's conflating things. He's trying to make it seem like, oh, well, I'm fighting for free speech. I'm fighting for minorities. I'm fighting for capitalism. I'm fighting for entrepreneurialism, the American way, true grit. He's a bullshitter.
And what our guiding light here is in DC for DSA is to make sure that in the name of consumer protection and in the name of anti-predatory practices, that there is not an overreach. There is not an over-rotation against the ability to make a supplemental income and to build a sales force of people who want to be in a sales force.
Here we go with another lie, the supplemental income lie. This is something that Lois Greisman from the Division of Marketing Practices for the Federal Trade Commission said in her letter to was it Rodolfo Franco or Joe Mariano from the FTC last year, March 15th, my birthday, where she said that based on the actual reported incomes of MLMs in the DSA, even making the claim that someone can earn a supplemental income could be deemed as deceptive because most people actually lose money. Julie says Grimaldi thinks he's slick. I bet people wince when he struts in acting as big man in DC. He's fooling no one. Yeah, I mean, I'm not a lawyer. I didn't go to law school. I'm younger than him. How is it that I'm so easily able to sniff out his bullshit? It's like, does this really work? Does talking like this really work?
And who want to sell a product and to help their families.
Also, I mean, again, are you really selling a product? Well, we see time and again that's not really what it's about. That's not really where the financial incentive is. Helping families. Do these things really help families? No, we see time and time again that these things actually destroy families.
And to be opportunistic. And that is, and so that is where, again, with
that is actually true. You are opportunistic for sure.
That pendulum swinging, when there is a new regime that wants to go completely in the other way of a Republican administration, a Trump administration, or even a pro-business Democratic administration, that they don't put a target on the back of an industry solely for messaging points or solely in the name of protecting consumers at all costs. You got to get to know an industry. You've got to get to know the people. And
mind you, the question was, what does he think about the MLM conference? And now he's talking about free speech and whatever else. Alex, what up? Alex is at his JOB. Thumbs up the ting. So true, yes.
And what's behind it, and not cast aspersions and jump to conclusions.
Yeah, let us indoctrinate you and brainwash you and fill your head with lies and doublespeak. Don't just make generalizations about us that are based on true facts and true data and our own income disclosures and the own historical precedents of our companies being prosecuted for certain behaviors that all of us seem to exhibit. Don't jump to conclusions.
That is what we're doing here. And I walk in to plenty of offices on Capitol Hill. Oh, you guys are the industry of pyramid schemes. You're the industry of multi-level marketing.
Oh, that's actually refreshing to hear that happens to him. Good. Shame this guy out of fucking Washington. Brandon C says, I feel like MLMs are just as damaging to a family marriage, if not more than alcoholism, gambling. I agree.
And I don't say, how dare you?
Right.
Say, oh, well, we get that a lot.
Yeah, I know you don't. You condescend and say, oh, you're just not educated.
Well, let me tell you about this company that is manufacturing cookware that is top notch, that you would use tonight in your own kitchen.
Again, just straw manning it, you know? Oh, well, actually, the product is really good. It doesn't matter. I could spend 10 minutes sitting there wasting my breath explaining how the endless chain is inherently fraudulent and how the compensation plan requires that new people pay to buy the cookware to sign up, and then they have to recruit an endless chain of people, and that's the only way they can increase their commission, and make all the arguments that would show that it's actually a pyramid scheme in this hypothetical. And Dave Grimaldi's going to go, oh, well, but the cookware was so great, right? This is what they all do. Oh, but I actually do like the product. It's just cope. It's just cope and deception.
And that you yourself can sell once you use it to your friends, family, and neighbors, and you can make money in doing so.
Literally, okay, and doesn't change anything about whether a company could be a pyramid scheme or not. Every MLM that was sued or shut down for being a pyramid scheme had products, okay?
And has been around for what? I don't know, 70, 80 years?
And it's something you can relate to. And
this just reminds me, you know, again, I've made this analogy before. Imagine two white slavers sitting there being like, these people think that they're going to take slavery away from us. It's been around for 400 years. Now they're trying to, you know, hold rallies together and argue and say that we're, you know, bad for having slaves and whipping people. And it's just ridiculous. I know a guy who treats his slaves really well. He has a slave who, you know, even knows how to read and write. Come get to know us. Come get to know the white slavers. That's what I think is an analogous situation to this. And I wasn't there during the times of slavery, but I have to imagine that there was some type of rhetoric, because there's always an attempt to do spin to try to make evil good and good evil. You know? Oh, you're the industry of MLMs and pyramid schemes? And what's his response? What's the hypothetical response that he says he would give? Oh, well, this cookware is really great, and you can make money selling it, and your friends and family are going to like it. What an absolute fucking shyster.
sure, you can go lie to people about
Yeah, Marco, but we have a product. Exactly.
its quality. You can lie to them about the money that they could possibly make. You can, but, you know, why not try looking at the glasses half full and learning from us?
We've been in business for 80 years, right? Just like Bernie Madoff wasn't caught for 30 years, just like slavery was around for, you know.
And rolling out all of the examples of this done properly. Sure, we can talk about fraudsters and criminals and all that, of course, but let's just be adults about this.
See how he condescends? Let's be adults about this, implying that everyone who doesn't take that stance or doesn't share his opinion isn't being an adult, but they're actually being a little crybaby. You know, they're being soft. You know, Dave, you say it's a matter of bad actors, right? Bad apples. It's not everyone. As a matter of fact, it's not even a significant enough amount of them to warrant a conference, right? He didn't say that, but I'm, you know, reading into what he's saying here. If it was the case, Dave Grimaldi, groveling Grimaldi, the more he talks, the more appropriate I think that nickname is. If it's the case that there are examples of companies that are doing it the right way, as you say, shouldn't the FTC also acknowledge that? Don't you think the FTC would also acknowledge that? Don't you think they would be able to say or be willing to say, here's an example of an MLM company that's doing it right. This one does it right. This one is a legitimate MLM, not a pyramid scheme. Why is it that the FTC has always refused to or been unable to name even one? Even one. I asked when I spoke at that conference in DC in 2023, name one. Just name one. They can't or they won't, because they know that they're in a bind. They know that the language is an Ouroboros, a snake eating its own tail of deception.
Yeah, well, I love what you say about let the justice system do its job, because it is there. We do have laws. They do work.
The justice system. Oh, yeah, you mean the thing that's unfairly weighted towards the people that have the most money. Got it.
And, it's not been prosecuted yet, but Federal Trade Commission and a couple of other regulators, finally, it took them years to sue one of the worst actors in our profession, who I'll not name, but
who?
Kind of an investment coaching.
This was recent. Yes.
Yeah, you know who I'm talking about. But
just say it then.
It took them a long time to finally sue that company, but that's a bad actor, and they
was it Success by Health? Who was it? Somebody tell me.
Need to be dealt with, but they are fringe, and what's not in the fringe are a lot of great companies that have been around for decades that sell real products to real people, and 95% of their sales are just customers.
Bullshit. Easy. I've explained before, but in case it's lost on you how they're able to make that claim as a technicality, it's because in some MLMs, if you don't qualify for the first rung of the ladder, if you don't if you've only paid to sign up and you're buying your own stuff, but you haven't reached the first rank by recruiting more people, they might internally just refer to you as a customer. It's their own internal verbiage. It's not a real reflection of what the words actually colloquially are understood by me and you to mean. So, for example, if in order for me to become an associate or, a supervisor, let's say the first rank is called supervisor. If in order for me to become a supervisor, I need 3 people under me, but I only have 2, or I have 1, or I have 0, they might just say, oh, you're not an active distributor, so thus you're just a customer. And since most people in MLMs don't ever actually recruit enough people to even reach the first rank, this is how they're able to technically say, oh, well, the majority of people are just customers.
They're not people that are selling the product. They're just customers.
It's funny. I'm at a point now, and I have been for some time, where I just know so much about this topic, and I'm so familiar with their logical fallacies and their arguments that it's like I know what they're going to say before they say it. He mentioned 2,000 years ago. I was like, oh, he's going to use the Jesus thing.
And, data, I think, is a really important part. We need to clean up our data. We need to categorize properly who's doing what, because there's really 3 categories of people in our profession. There's customers, and that's at least 90%.
Okay. Says that it's 90 to 95% just customers, and then immediately goes, well, we need to clean up the data. So are you even convinced about what you're saying yourself?
Then there's sellers. Let's call them traditional direct sellers. All they do is sell the product. Probably today they sell it online, social media. They make a post, they have a link, somebody buys some product, or they sell something to their neighbor, or maybe they sell it at a flea market or something like that. They don't recruit. They don't build a sales force. They don't lead. They don't coach. They don't train. They're not in the people business. They're just making a few $100 a month, maybe.
The data does not support that. The FTC has commented on that, at least via Lois Greisman of the Division of Marketing Practices, that a couple $100 a month maybe is a stretch, okay? And again, we talked earlier about how ludicrous this idea is that there are people in 2025 who are out here selling overpriced when you compare to their similar products in the same niche, in the same category. Lotions, potions, protein powder, whatever it is, that these are people that are actually making even a supplementary income from selling these products via their own selling efforts. It's just nonsense.
And then there are the network marketers. Those are the people that recruit and build a sales force. They're only about 1 or 2% of the data. So there are the network marketers. Those are the people that recruit and build a sales force. They're only about 1 or 2% of the data.
That actually doesn't help your case, Richard, if you're trying to make the claim that only 1 to 2% of the data is from people who are actually actively recruiting people and trying to build or coach, as you say, or lead. Because if you're saying it's only 1 or 2% of the data, you're actually corroborating what people like myself and others who know the truth about multi-level marketing would say, which is that only 1%, as a matter of fact, it's less than 1% of people are making money.
So if there's 100 people in the database, there's only 1 or 2% of them that have a sales force.
Exactly. Just like in an MLM company where there's 100 people, only 1 or 2% are making money off of the efforts of the 98, 99 people below them. You're exactly correct, Richard Bliss Brooks. Queen of Karma in the chat says, wait, what just happened? Is he on our side now? Exactly. It's like these people don't even realize the nonsense. They don't even realize that what they're saying, the more they talk about it and the more they try to deconstruct it and speak about it honestly, it's like their tongue betrays their brain. That's what we've been saying. Exactly. He talked himself into a circle and ended up anti-MLM at the end. Exactly. What an idiot.
That are earning that network marketing income.
We know, Richard. We know. That's what we're saying. That's what we've been saying.
There's only 3 or 4%, 5% at the most, that are selling product. Everybody else is a customer.
Yeah. Most of them are considered customers because they've been convinced to buy the product every month as a mandatory or de facto mandatory condition of being involved with the company themselves. And they're being deceptively told, just recruit 5 people. And it's not until after they're already spending money as a customer that they realize this is a mathematically impossible proposition, that they're already out of potential people to recruit or sell to.
And if we had that data cleaned up, you would see that a much, much higher percentage of people actually make money.
Okay, so now a much higher percentage of people make money, even though you just said only 1 to 2% of people are recruiting and everyone else is making maybe a couple $100 a month. So which is it?
That are trying to make money, right? The customers don't make money. They just enjoy a product. And gosh, we have companies, as you know, and you're going to get to know, Dave, that they've been doing this 60, 70, 80 years.
6, 7?
And they have customers that are second, third generation customers. You know, the kids and the grandkids grew up buying these products, using these products in the home, and they still use them. Why? Because they're the best. And that's the story we need to tell. And that's the last question I want to ask you, because I know your time's limited, but you're a storyteller.
We agree.
And we have a story to tell. And if we don't craft the story, other people are going to craft it for us. Like, oh, you guys are the pyramid company.
Don't worry, Richard. Even when you're sitting here on this interview with Groveling Grimaldi crafting a story, it's still perfectly within my wheelhouse and my capability to tell the story for you and actually translate what you're saying and show how nonsense and deceptive it is. It's so easy for any old regular person like me to poke holes in the abject nonsense that you're saying.
What is the story we all need to be telling? To the media, to our friends, to the regulators, to anybody who will listen? What is the story we need to tell before somebody else tells a story for us?
There are a million unique things about this country. There are a billion unique things about the personalities of human beings.
Well, social justice, free speech, Jesus Christ. What now is he going to hold up and claim to be a herald of?
There are 2 things that a mentor of mine named Robert Rabin told me years ago that lead to success.
Your guys' chats. Ed says, I'm going to open a car dealership with no salespeople, just customers who sell cars for me, and they also need to purchase a car when hired. Julie says, if we cherry pick the data and only reported the people who made a lot of money, our data would look better. No shit. You're a storyteller equals you're a bullshitter. Now he's a philosopher. Yeah, what's the story we need to be telling? And what's Dave Grimaldi go into? This country has a million unique things. Just fucking yappers.
That a mentor of mine named Robert Rabin told me years ago that lead to success.
Here we go.
Personality and performance.
Right on.
The direct selling channel is the greatest combination of both of those.
Right.
And it's powered.
Oh, that grumble. Yeah.
Is the greatest combination of both of those. And it's powered by just sheer willpower. I want to do right by my family. I want to use what's inside of me, what's inside the DNA that God gave me, to go out and in a way that is more satisfactory than anything, enrich myself and enrich someone else who I'm selling what you...
Deceptive earnings claim. I mean, I guess enrich doesn't necessarily refer to money. You know, nutrients could enrich, but interesting Freudian slip of the tongue right there.
You just said one of those amazing products too.
Wow.
Enrich someone else with more satisfactory...
Also, I love how he has to invoke a god, you know, the DNA that God gave me. They always have to put that little thing in there, that little implication of like, you know, God wanting you to do this.
Said one of those amazing products too. Someone else who I'm selling what you just said, one of those amazing products too.
That's a horse of a different color was the dorkiest thing I've ever heard. Yeah, that was super gay. And then everyone stood up and clapped, right? He's so profound.
And you cannot replace face-to-face. This is not an unknown party to an unknown party. This is not walking into a store, and I have wonderful transactions at coffee shops every day, but this is not walking in, handing money, getting something, leaving. This is developing a relationship.
This is developing a predatory, parasitic agreement disguised as a relationship, for sure. This is people pretending to be your friend. This is people in Target and a coffee shop pretending to like your shoes, pretending to like your iPad so that they can recruit you and turn you into a dollar sign for them, generating money for them while you get stuck holding the bag. That's what it is. You're absolutely right, Dave. This isn't just walking into a shop and buying something. This is a mind manipulation cult movement where fake relationships that very quickly devolve into abuse, control, you know, manipulation, financial domination, disguised as real relationships, fester and proliferate. That's what this is. If it truly was business, there wouldn't be any of this nonsense. If it truly was a transaction, it wouldn't be about the mindset and the, you know, making people think that we're a family. And then when someone leaves, they get ostracized and, you know, they get smeared behind their back and used as a worst case scenario horror story of, oh yeah, well, you saw what happened to, you know, Sarah. Now she's out of the company and her life has gone to shit and she's working a job, 9 to 5 job, and, you know, invoking these phobias, inducing these phobias. You're absolutely right, Dave. It's about, it's not traditional walking into a store and buying something.
It leads to a sense of community. And that's on both sides. People who use these products and feel good about themselves. Man, this lip gloss makes me beautiful today. Wow.
That's a drop.
Wow, this cookware made me make this unbelievable meal for my 2 kids. And it goes on and on. ACM, I'm paying less money to to this provider.
Crazy that he used to be an ACN. He's for sure seen my video. And Bill Keep was mentioned by name and the conference. That means Dave Grimaldi 1 billion% knows who I am. Wendy, what up, Wendy? Wendy was in Amway for 30 years. She says, those at the top will flaunt their checks as if it's the norm, posting them month after month. What they miss is that we see their income declining. They think people are stupid. Yeah. Either they think people are stupid or people have been disbelieving their eyes for so long.
Than to the major telecom companies, but I'm also able to sell this and not only enjoy the benefits of the product, but make money from it. And
write this down. It's proprietary. Hilarious.
And what is just more straightforward than that?
A guy presenting the most convoluted, deceptive, manipulative brainwash of an industry. What's more straightforward than that? You can't make this shit up. You guys did a terrible job, Richard Bliss Brooks and Dave Grimaldi. You guys suck. You guys suck at trying to deceive and spin this. It's so every statement you made, I was able to pause and without even much thought go, here's why that's nonsense.
And it's also enriching all of those different communities, right? The different ethnic communities in the U.S.
Oh, yeah. Back to the helping minorities. Here we go.
There's pockets of entrepreneurialism in all of them, like we talked about. It's such an easy story to tell.
It's so easy to deceive black and brown people into a mathematically impossible endless chain that statistically is proven to result in most people losing money. It's just amazing.
Such an easy story to tell about just ingenuity, drive, personal power, personality power, and it brings together a community. And I told you, I have now seen it up close multiple times.
Sorry, Wendy. Wrong Wendy. My apologies. She says, wrong Wendy. In Sensi for 5 years until they booted me for so-called disparaging them and my SSD. I got 2 words for them. F you. Thanks, Wendy.
I am certain that major retail chains have sales conferences and people get together and they have a great time and they talk about the product and they talk about probably a giant Fortune 500 publicly traded company.
Thank you, Benjamin, for the credit there. And predicted what was coming next consistently. So true.
I guarantee you.
Winning all my lawsuits? I Am Academy? Let me stop.
That when you go to a conference of direct sellers and field members, like I've seen recently, that is a heck of a lot more fun, more gratifying, more personal to you, because you're there because of your simple willpower to be part of this, to sell from it, to make money from it, and to learn about it. And again, using my coffee shop analogy, I am sure baristas know about the coffee that they're serving. They know where it's from. They know how to make a great latte, on and on. But when you're at a direct selling conference, let's say one for vitamins, let's say beauty products, those are people who are deeply, lifelong invested and prideful of that product and are dying to tell anyone about it.
Another false equivalence, because the coffee shop example might be somebody who is passionate about coffee and opened their own shop and trained for years to make the best cup of coffee and brew coffee and whatever else. In MLM, you don't own the products. You didn't invent the products. You're an independent contractor, which even, the recent WFG $65 million settlement, the law firm in California that brought the case against them argued that actually these people aren't independent, that these people are putting in work comparable to what would denote them getting paid the way a salary or wage actual employee would get paid. That they weren't getting paid wages, overtime, breaks, etc., and they should have been. And WFG paid a $65 million settlement for that.
And how it's part of their life and it's part of their day-to-day. I am sure people...
Yeah, exactly, Benjamin. Who wants to know somebody like that? If you're at a coffee shop buying a cup of coffee, it's because you wanted to buy a cup of coffee, most likely. You're not there buying coffee because the barista pressured you to come there after meeting you in a Target and fake complimenting your shoes and then telling you that all you have to do is buy this coffee every month and it's exorbitantly priced compared to the next normal coffee that you can buy from Starbucks or McDonald's or whatever, and then manipulated you and convinced you that she was making a bunch of money, which was probably a lie, or that her upline was making a bunch of money, which maybe was true, but it wasn't because of selling coffee, and then you joined to become a barista yourself. But that's exactly what's happening in MLM, isn't it, Dave? Are the girls at my local Timmy's being made to study coffee beans? I don't think so, right? You'd make more money as a barista than an MLM. True. Who wants to know somebody who won't shut up about their shitty products? True. Look up ABC test and you'll see why they're employees and not contractors. Okay, let me look that up. ABC test. ABC test. What would I search? Oh, independent contractor. Legal framework used to determine whether a worker is an employee or a contractor. A, the worker is free from the company's control. That's not the case in MLM. B, the worker's work is outside the usual course of the company's business. Arguable. C, the worker is customarily engaged in an independent business of the same nature. Interesting. Interesting. Apparently, California is much better for this type of enforcement than other states.
People who work at other companies and sell other products, they take pride in it and they're happy about it. It's nothing.
Yes, Queen of Karma. The barista isn't forced to buy coffee or recruit others to buy coffee and learn all about the coffee. They do this all the time. Worst examples. Yeah, for somebody who's literally from he's from DC, according to him. He's from the world of lobbying and defending the indefensible, crypto, MLM. He sure sucks at creating an analogy, doesn't he?
Life, and it's part of their day-to-day. I am sure people who work at other companies and sell other products, they take pride in it and they're happy about it. It's nothing compared to
no comparison.
What I have now seen in person. And
transactional versus spiritual.
It is transactional versus spiritual all the way.
Yes, Wendy, you were the one who recommended the Clarkson. I actually did write to Clarkson Law Firm. Was it them who called me back yesterday? Somebody called me back from a law firm yesterday. Let me see if the contact information is still there. It was leg day yesterday. It absolutely fucking destroyed me. Here, let me see. Let me Google the name and I'll tell you exactly. I have the name of who called me. It was Clarkson. It was Clarkson Law Firm that called me. I spoke to a woman from Clarkson. Let me write this down. Clarkson Law Firm. I wrote to her about a separate matter, something I'm dealing with personally regarding my work here on YouTube, different legal matter. And she said that they only do class actions there. And I told her, okay, that's fine. But if you ever need help finding people in California to form a class against an MLM, I have this YouTube channel and I'm sure a lot of my subscribers are in California and I could help you find some people. And also if you needed an expert witness to talk about the actual practices and gather evidence and information, I'm available, That seems like it would be a very reasonable thing for me to do for money, is to offer my expert services or research services to a law firm who, of course, they're getting paid contingent upon getting a settlement, right? But $65 million settlement, 21 million was to the lawyers, I think, in the case of WFG, the recent one. Surely I could say, okay, pay me 100,000 or pay me a percentage of the percentage that you're getting. If you're getting 30% of the judgment, let me get 1% of the 30%, or let me get 0.5% of the, you get my point. It'll happen eventually, I'm sure.
Great. I'm going to start saying that now every 5 minutes. So I owe you a royalty. Richard, thank you.
Not nearly as many.
You're familiar with the bad analogies because of on passive. Oh, I can only imagine. No, they all have it, but the attorney general would have to bring suit in any other state. Oh, I see. The caveat in California is the PAGA, Personal Attorney General Act. Oh, cool. Allowing an individual to sue themselves. Sue on their own, not sue themselves. But yeah, okay, interesting.
No comparison.
What I have now seen in person. And
transactional versus spiritual.
See, appealing to fantasy, gobbledygook, nonsense, The Secret, the law of attraction, spirit.
I am sure people who work at other companies and sell other products, they take pride in it and they're happy about it. It's nothing compared to what we experience.
No comparison.
Yeah, it's almost like they've been radicalized into a cult, Dave and Richard. It's almost like they have a cult-like fanaticism towards their, when it comes to their enthusiasm and their charisma about coffee beans, essential oil, protein powder. It's like they scoffed at the idea that they were cults earlier and then go on to describe cult fanaticism, basically.
What I have now seen in person.
Yeah, exactly, Julie. Transactional versus spiritual. Also, we're not a cult. Fuck you.
And transactional versus spiritual.
It is transactional versus spiritual all the way.
Clip that.
Great. I'm going to start saying that now.
Okay, now we know why his bars are so weak. He's getting them from Richard Bliss Brooks, Super MLM Man. Transactional versus spiritual. I'm going to start saying that now. Oh, that sounds like some clever, that sounds like a clever thought-stopping cliche. I'm going to start saying that now.
Every 5 minutes. So,
every 5 minutes.
Spiritual all the way. Great. I'm going to start saying that now every 5 minutes. So I owe you a royalty. Richard, thank you.
Not nearly as many standing ovations and hugs at a corporate America conference as there is a network marketing conference.
I turned my phone around on the stage a couple weeks ago to take a selfie with that crowd, and they went nuts.
Yeah.
It was so cool.
Yeah.
It was so fun.
Very interesting, Wendy. They're looking for anyone in Melaleuca to sign on to a class action. I'll be online for the preliminary hearing in Jan against Sensi. Nice. Hell yeah. Shout out Clarkson Law Firm. I need to holler at them, man.
So a lot of crying, a lot of laughing, a lot of standing ovations, a lot of hugs that you just don't see in corporate America.
Sounds totally sensible for companies that are selling cookware and vitamins and protein powder and essential oils. Totally hugs and tears and come on, guys, we're the best.
And I'm all in. And I'm so grateful to learn from you and stand on the shoulders of all of these amazing people who have built these companies. It's just great.
This is American. This is the bedrock upon which America was built. This is the Statue of Liberty. This is your parents. This is your grandparents. This is my grandparents, great-grandparents. This is how America was built.
More appeals to emotion, invoking these symbolic representations of the American dream. You know, Ellis Island, the Statue of Liberty, you know, the love we have for our parents and grandparents, you know, just emotional nonsense babble.
And yeah, we've grown away from it, but I think maybe will fuel us for the next 300 or 400 years of culture and community and capitalism and growth is getting back to the roots of inspiring individual entrepreneurialism, whether it's a hot dog stand or whatever it is, inspiring people to go do something.
Yeah, the Statue of Liberty holding up a bottle of fucking Herbalife powder, you know? The Statue of Liberty holding some Sensi.
It's their dream. And the right to fail, because that's also American.
All the way.
Oh my God. America, free speech, minorities, black and Mexican people. What else? What else? Brainwash me some more, daddy. Yes.
All the way. Amen to that. Yes, Richard.
Oh yeah. Christ, God. Yeah.
Thank you, David. The new chairman of the Direct Selling Association, the future. Appreciate you being here.
This was great. Until next time, Richard, thank you.
This was great. This was great. It absolutely was, gentlemen.
Thank you all. Share it far and wide. Until next time.
Share it far and wide. 5 months, 131 views. Can't believe you've done this, Richard and David. It's funny, I wasn't even going to react to that video. The one that I had on my watch later was this one called The Truth About the Direct Selling Association with CEO Dave Grimaldi. And this one kind of went viral. I mean, this one has 217 views compared to the 130 whatever views. So, you know, this was an interesting one.
And they've done it completely because of their own drive. And that's different than, I think, the industries that I mentioned. Our channel is completely unique and set apart, which is why going into my 8th month, it is a massive honor and privilege to sit here at DSA. And
just more bullshit. I mean, do we really need to watch that to see what other... This was from September 2nd. Damn, this one's even more recent. Do we even need to really watch this to know that it's going to be the same babble? I wonder. Here, let me go to the transcript of this video and see, did he say the spiritual thing? Was he actually being honest with Richard when he said he's going to say it every 5 minutes? It's just amazing. I almost feel bad for David Grimaldi. If he wasn't such a piece of shit, I would feel bad. Because, you know, he's been in this role for less than a year, and he's already had the likes of Always Marco picking him apart, you know, multiple times for his nonsense. Dave, you need to get better at this. You know, we're in an information war with these multi-level marketing creatures. And, you know, we're obviously winning. They've never been more paranoid, more scared, more desperate, more on the back foot, more exposed than they are right now. Literally. They can't go a year without some massive viral video or videos about some company that represents them in that it's the same business model, an MLM, getting exposed. They can't go on an interview without an anti-MLM creator picking apart with ease their deception and their logical fallacies and false equivocations. They're just getting bodied. You know, as Julie said earlier, they're so worried about this little conference, this little conference in Washington, D.C. put on by Bill. They're even attacking that. You might remember I did a stream, which is part 3 of the series of videos that I've been releasing. I released 2 of them so far. You saw the one of them was called Big Pyramid isn't as, what is it? Big Pyramid is weaker than you think. The one I released yesterday, Big Pyramid is desperate. And then the last one that I'm going to be releasing, which is part 3 of this series of the Direct Selling Association or the Direct Selling Education Foundation, trying to use basically smears to discredit their enemies, is spoiler alert, if you hadn't seen the stream that this originated from, the stream, which is still up, is on my channel. It's called Big Pyramid is so desperate that they've resorted to slander. This was 2 months ago. And this was where the Direct Selling Education Foundation wrote a letter to the Dean of the College of New Jersey, who sponsors and has sponsored the MLM conference for the last few years, where they basically criticize it as being biased and one-sided. And then, for no apparent reason other than to appeal to the Jewish identity of the head of the College of New Jersey, the Dean of the College of New Jersey, they mention, not by name, but they refer to me because I was the one who did it. They refer to me by saying that a speaker at the conference even quoted from Hitler's Mein Kampf, which is true. And I explain in that live stream the context. But of course, they don't represent me in context. They flip they invert the reality, just like we saw them do in this video. You accuse good of being evil and evil of being good. You accuse your enemy of what you are doing. You say that you're the opposite of what you are. This is desperation. They're so desperate that they're going back to a speech that I gave over a year ago and including it in a letter out of context, without attributing it to me, without providing a source for where and when it was said and how I actually said it and the greater theme of what my speech was about, and trying to use this to, what? Say that I'm prejudiced? So, they're losing. They're losing, They're losing the information battle because the truth is too difficult to contend with. As I said, the truth is not complicated. What gets complicated is evading the truth, okay? That's what they are all about, evading the truth. You ask a simple question, and you get in response, like Patrick Bet-David, a long tangent, a story. When I was in the military, the Shah of Iran, blah, blah, blah. You ask Dave Grimaldi a question, we end up talking about civil rights and racial groups and God and spiritualism and free speech. The truth is not complicated. What gets complicated is evading the truth. Have you guys ever seen JCS Psychology, the true crime channel? You notice in those analyses of interrogation room interviews, when the person is guilty, usually when they're too suspicious, usually it turns out in the videos that they're guilty. For example, I'm just going to show you one because this is a great example. The video has 44 million views. It's called Jennifer's Solution. Maybe you're like me. Maybe you're one of the people who during COVID you were reacting to, or you went on a binge watching all the JCS Psychology videos. But in this video, Jennifer's Solution, there's a great moment that I want to play for you. So please stick with me just a moment, just a little bit longer. Here. I have to do this little workaround thing to get the fucking thing up on the screen. OS screen capture, properties. Here. Window capture. Save. Fuck me. Properties. Okay. Here we go. Google Chrome, Jennifer's Solution. Here it is. Apologies for that. Let's watch. I'm going to go to the transcript, actually, and I'm going to find the exact part. Here we go. I think this is the moment. Let me pull it up.
But you have to be able to explain to me what happened, okay? I can't tell you what's exactly going to happen to you. You just have to be brave here. You have to be brave.
Basically told that fabricating evidence with the intent to mislead is...
Let me find the moment so that I can really make my point here. They did break down everything, the body language, everything. I'm trying to find the one moment here. Okay. Okay, I'm not sure. Maybe it wasn't this video. Anyways, sorry about that. Point I'm making is this. In some of these videos, and maybe one of you can find out which of the JCS psychology videos it was. There's not that many of them. But in this video, in these videos, you'll often see something like the following, where a person is asked a question, a suspect is asked a question. The question could be something simple like, where were you on September the 3rd? And an honest person will say, I was at home. I was at work. Me and my girlfriend were on a date. A dishonest person will say, oh, let me think. Well, oh, yeah, okay, well, I had to go pick up my sister because her car was broken. So then I went to go pick her up, but then it turned out that she wasn't home because I got the dates mixed up. So then I had to go back. And it's a whole convoluted mess because they're trying to throw more details. You know, they're trying to put more embellishment. They're trying to throw you off the trail. You know, they're trying to make it sound more believable. Maybe if I add more words and more details, it'll be more believable. They're just trying to hit you with a barrage of information, a wall of text, you know, to stop you from seeing the truth. That's what MLMs do. That's what we see them do time and again. This is a podcast, Dave Grimaldi and Richard Bliss Brooks, that we just watched, where it's them too. They're free to say whatever they want and conduct themselves in any manner they want. And even amongst themselves, they contradict themselves and say the quiet part out loud and talk in circles and jump from one topic to another and make false comparisons. And all they have left is slander, you know? All they have left is discrediting and trying to come up with more clever babble. The gates are closing when it comes to multi-level marketing. The end is nigh, you know, sooner or later. And, you know, even somebody like me, you know, as I grow, the target on my back grows. As I've continued this work, the lawsuits have only become more frequent. You know, the harassment has only become more frequent. The attempts to destroy me, you know, the Direct Selling Education Foundation letter saying, oh, yeah, you know, this speaker quoted from Hitler's Mein Kampf. And, you know, it's just madness. They're watching your videos, stressing so much. True. The DSEF was so butthurt. It was wild seeing that letter. Yeah, and shout out to Julie as well for reacting to that letter on her stream as well. Jennifer's solution was a good one. Yeah, I mean, there's another quote that has been stuck in my head recently, and perhaps I'll do something with this in the future, perhaps not, but I think it applies as well to MLM, and it's sort of an aside, but the quote is this. Somebody left this actually as a comment on my YouTube channel. So if you're here in the stream or you're watching this on the replay, please make yourself, please show yourself so I can big you up for changing my life with this quote. The quote was, there are two paths in life, the hard way and the harder way disguised as the easy way. Some of you may have heard the saying, the cheapest option is usually the most expensive. If you go to buy the cheapest pan to cook food in, it's probably going to be poor material and it's going to break, which is going to lead to you replacing it sooner than later, in which case you'll have spent more money on two pans than you would have just spent on one if you got something that was good quality. It applies to clothing, cookware, headphones, doesn't matter. Well, I really liked this quote about there only being two paths in life, the hard path and the harder path disguised as the easy path. MLM is the harder path disguised as the easy path. These courses that gurus are selling you are the harder path disguised as the easy path. Crypto, stocks, stonks, Bitcoin, the harder path disguised as the easy path, because you spend so much time in it, you spend so much money in it, that by the time it's chewed you up and spit you out and you even realized or have come close to accepting that this was actually not the move, and actually you got scammed, and actually you shouldn't have abandoned your educational career to pursue World Financial Group or whatever it was, by the time you even find yourself and collect your feet under yourself again, you realize that if I had just stuck on the path that I was on initially, before I tried to get rich quick, or before I tried to take a shortcut, that I actually would have been further ahead. But now I've wasted that time, and I can't get it back, which leads some people to spiral even more, to seek another easy path, supposedly easy path, another harder path disguised as an easy path. Oh shit, I wasted all that time in that MLM. That didn't work out. Now I need to move doubly as fast. I need to make the money and make the, and have the success twice as fast, because not only did I waste that time, but I can't get it back. So I need to make it even faster. And then they join another MLM and another MLM. Sometimes people who are criminals, or they make money illegally, or they're drug dealers or whatever, they go to jail. And all that time they were in jail, they're thinking about the money they could have been making selling drugs. So when they come out, what do? Well, now I got to hit the streets even harder and sell drugs twice as much, twice as hard, twice as fast. What kind of cycle do you think that perpetuates? So this leaves, especially now, it leaves so many people screwed. Courses that didn't go anywhere, outright scams, MLMs, crypto, investments, stocks, Ponzi schemes, all this, little hustles, jumping from one hustle to another. They've got a t-shirt business 1 year, and then less than a year later, they're doing crypto trading and speculative, Forex and whatever else. It's just mad. So there are two paths in life indeed, the hard way and the harder way disguised as the easy way. I think it's funny and telling and convenient that Dave Grimaldi's two professions that we know about, rather three that we know about. ACN, the harder way disguised as the easy way. My most viewed video, wink, on my channel is about ACN. Crypto, blockchain, talking about FTX, the harder way disguised as the easy way. And now MLM, perhaps the ultimate harder way disguised as the easy way, because it usually comes to you not in the form of some Instagram ad of some guru with a Lamborghini selling you a course. It usually comes to you in the form of the recognizable face of that friend or relative that you trust implicitly and have known for a long time, telling you they have a great opportunity because they've been deceived. So much more nefarious and evil. MLM, something that not only scams people, but turns them into perpetuators of the scam themselves. You're not just getting scammed by being involved in MLM like you would be getting scammed if you were part of a traditional cash pyramid scheme or Ponzi scheme. You're also a scammer when you're in MLM, because you're bringing other people into this money-losing, money transfer scheme. I like to think that I've chosen the hard way, and sometimes I'm frustrated. I'm often frustrated because, earlier in this stream, we talked about rising cost of living as a byproduct of over-immigration. We talked about the predatory financial system, usury. We talked about people not understanding the rule of, what does he call it? The exponential, what was the actual term he used? Exponential function. Yeah. And how that has consequences that we usually don't realize until they're too late. And I don't know, I'm a person, I'm going to be 30 years old on my next birthday in March. I have a lot that I'm grateful for, but I don't think that I am who I should be or where I should be or what I pictured at 30. Then again, it's a different world, so perhaps I have an outdated framework of what it means to be 30. But, I like to think I did everything right. I never cheated anyone. I never harmed anyone. There's nobody walking around that can genuinely, honestly say that I ever screwed them. You know, I wasn't a bully. I never did drugs. I didn't spend money on alcohol and cigarettes. I don't even drink. I didn't go to parties. You know, I didn't skip school. I worked hard. I was honest. I was tried to be a good person, always tried to be generous and kind. And I often feel like, even though I never tried to take a shortcut, even though I chose the hard path, you know, that it hasn't always been worth it, as bad as it is to say. But, you know, all in due time, I don't think I'm going to regret looking back on my life and knowing that I think I would only look back to regret if I said, you know what, I'm going to be a scammer. You know, I'm going to take this shortcut. I'm going to rob, steal, or whatever. But yeah, it's hard, but I don't know. I'm sort of keeping my faith, if you want to call it that, that it will all work out. But it's tough. I mean, I can't really complain. I guess I did choose it. I did choose the path of going against these scammers because I believe in it. I mean, what a privilege also to have something that you fight for, that you believe in, that you know makes a positive difference, that you know millions of people resonate with. It is a great privilege, but also it's hard, you know. It feels sometimes like nobody actually cares. I know people care. People send me messages and people support me, but sometimes the things I'm fighting are so overwhelming that it doesn't feel like that there's a proportional amount of like care about what I'm actually fighting for. Sometimes I think, what's the point? But that's what they want me to think, isn't it? You know, it would really be a big maybe if I was bigger, maybe if my platform was 10 times bigger, you know, maybe if I was CoffeeZilla level. If I was CoffeeZilla level and I said, hey, I mean, have you ever seen at the end of CoffeeZilla's videos the Patreon patrons that scroll up the screen? It's like, it takes a long time to scroll through all those patrons. My man is fucking caking. So it's tough because as I grow, the sort of actions that are taken against me grow, but it's also like I'm sort of in this pendulum. I'm sort of in this position where it's like, in order to grow and have more influence and help more people, I'm sort of inherently increasing the risk that someone's going to try to get retribution against me. But if I do nothing, yeah, there will be no retribution, but you know, you're not going to make much of a difference. I don't know who it was. I feel like I don't know who it was, but they said your right to say whatever you want is actually sort of an illusion. You're only allowed to say what you want proportional to the amount of influence you have. If you become hugely influential, you'll find very quickly that if you start influencing many people against a certain agenda or a certain powerful group, you know, speaking truth to power, as Dave Grimaldi said, as Dave Grimaldi incorrectly attributed to MLM, then you'll realize you don't really have that much free speech after all, that actually your free speech will be attacked with lawsuits and whatever else. So, I mean, I'm staying on the horse, a horse of a different color. I'm staying on my horse of a different color, at least for now, but yeah. Yeah. Queen of Karma, I mean, you should be proud of the 7K subscribers as well. Good on you. But it's not necessarily about the subscribers. That's not really what I'm talking about, or what the issue is. I'm talking more so about the disproportionate forces that are being that are targeting me, and their disproportional financial might and influence that they're attacking me with, versus the amount of versus the amount of like counteracting force. You know, I wish there was more people making videos. I wish there was more people launching class action lawsuits. I wish the government was doing more. I wish individuals were doing more, you know. Grimaldi in DC talking about, let me tell you about my hot dog stand. So funny. Virtue signaling bingo. Discovering the evils of MLM shattered my reality, says Benjamin. You helped me retain my sanity, Marco. Yeah. Thank you for saying that. I really appreciate that. And I mean, I was thinking yesterday too about like Robert Fitzpatrick and how grateful I am to have him in my life, because there's been times where I feel like, man, if I wasn't able to talk to Robert about this, I would be truly, truly alone. Who else can relate? Who else can relate to what I'm dealing with right now? Who else sees through the smoke and understands this phenomenon, this evil of multi-level marketing as well as him? Who also knows what it's like to be sued and dragged through the process and for years? And, you know, thank you, Shanice. Appreciate you. It's a weird in-between when it comes to unapologetic journalism. Yes. At least I have my comfortable, warm, embroidered cult member hoodie. Am I right, y'all?
I gotta get the bag.
So true. I'll put the link in the chat one more time for that. What up, Isaac? Appreciate you. That is the problem. There's always a power imbalance here because none of us are millionaires with the government being paid off by us. True. Is that even a thing, Danny? Is that even a possibility? Do they allow now like I know they released a thing on YouTube where you can post a YouTube video where it's like by multiple people, sort of like Instagram has collab, but I'm not sure if you can do that for live streams. I don't think you can. Appreciate you, Shanice. How long have I been going? 3.5 Bombo Ross Claude hours? Oh my god. I didn't even realize that. Let me get on. Let me go get a life, am I right? But yeah, I appreciate y'all. I've got so much editing to do and so much work to do on other shit as well. The hoodies will help when MLM finally overtakes everything and we are all homeless. Yeah, true. You'll be forced to have the some sort of thing on the back of the hoodie that says no, I can't even say it. We'll definitely be in a cult by that point, some capitalistic weird Zionist cult that changes the context of what it means on this sweater, you know? So funny. Yeah, well, I'll keep you all posted, of course. I'll be back on Saturday anyways. And I still, as I mentioned before, I still will have at least two, not at least, I will have 2 shorts dropping every day for the next, I think I have them scheduled out for the next 10 days still. So I have a lot of content that's dropped, a lot of clips. It's mostly like interview clips from me and Julie and Patrick Bet-David impression clips. People want me to do another one of those Patrick Bet-David streams as well, but it's got to be the right time, the right reason. So yeah. Okay, well, that's all I got for y'all, man. Appreciate you guys.
Marco.
What else you want me to say?
What you are about to witness is real. The participants are not actors. They are actual litigants with a case pending in civil court. Both.
Appreciate it. You know, if you want to support, become a YouTube channel member. My Patreon got deleted. I didn't delete it. They deleted it. I will more than likely do a video explaining that because that's a huge fucking development. I was building that Patreon for 6 years. But I got to make sure my lawyer says it's okay to talk about because it's an absolutely fucking insane story. For sure the craziest thing I've ever dealt with in my life leading up to that Patreon getting deleted. Balaka boom blow, yeah. Appreciate it, Danny. That could be cool. Red Shield. Oh, I think I know what you're talking about. Great job. Appreciate it. Yeah, this was fun. I think this was illuminating. Appreciate you guys. You know, you already know the drill. Streamlabs, PayPal, the merch, get the new merch it's a great Christmas gift. Been a lot of support on that. Join the Discord. Appreciate y'all. Yes, my Patreon was deleted. Frozen and then deleted. So you may be seeing a video talking about a legal matter very soon that I've been dealing with for 2 years now. You may be seeing a big campaign. You may be seeing me do a big GoFundMe campaign and limited merch run campaign and calling in every favor, every YouTube connection I have, seeing if Hassan will talk about it, who's reacted to my videos before, seeing if Coffeezilla will talk about it, seeing if Moist Critical will talk about it, Baller Busters. You're going to see me literally, you may, I shouldn't say you will, because I don't know what's going to happen in the short term, but within the next little while, I know I'm going to know if that's the route I'm taking or not. But just know the forces of evil do not sleep, and they work overtime to try to destroy me, which is sort of flattering because, you know you're doing something right. If the evil people are saying how much they dislike you. So yeah, appreciate y'all, man. See you on Saturday. Peace.
Thumbs up the team.